Dr. Andrew Holness would defeat opposition leader Mark Golding by 10 points if Jamaicans could directly elect their Prime Minister. That's according to the latest nationwide Blue Dot polls powered by Total Tools. Despite Dr. Holness's advantage in the hypothetical direct matchup, Golding has managed to narrow the gap over the last 3 months. Mahiri Stewart has the details.
It's a question the Blue Dot pollsters have put to Jamaicans over the last 2 years. If they could directly elect the Prime Minister, who would they choose? The question was again put to voters between May 2 and 17. Back in 2023, Holness comfortably cleared a field of popular politicians. Jamaicans say he would be their man. In September 2024, in the direct hypothetical matchup with Holness, Golding was within striking distance. He trailed by only 5 points. In February this year, Holness pulled ahead, opening up a massive 14-point lead over his opposition counterpart. Fast forward to May, and Holness's lead has dipped to 10 points. 55% of Jamaicans say they would choose him. 45% say they would go with Golding. That's a 4-point fall-off from the lead the Prime Minister enjoyed 3 months ago. Holness leads Golding across all but 2 age demographics. The opposition leader draws even with the Prime Minister, with voters 35 to 44 years old, and bests him by 2 points with voters over 65 years old. That 2-point lead is within the poll's margin of error of 2.3%. Golding's gain is with voters over 65 years. He has improved his standing with them by 4 points in the last 3 months. The opposition leader has also seen a 5-point improvement with voters 35 to 44 years old. The Prime Minister dominates Golding across all 14 parishes, holding a massive 24-point lead in St. Thomas. 62% of voters in the Eastern Parish would choose Holness, 38% would choose Golding. Holness also holds double-digit leads in Clarendon, Portland, St. Catherine, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, and St. James. Golding significantly narrows the gap in Kingston and St. Andrew and St. Mary, where Holness's lead shrinks to 2 points. The Prime Minister is 4 points ahead in Hanover, Manchester, St. Anne, and 6 points ahead in Trelawney. As it stands, the Governor-General appoints the person best able to command the confidence of the majority of the House of Representatives. By convention, that has been the leader of the governing party. But with these numbers, Holness may wonder if the hypothetical question might not be one to seriously consider. Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Andrew Holness continues to perform well with female voters. He leads opposition leader Mark Golding by 11 points with women on the hypothetical question of a direct vote for Prime Minister. 56% of women chose Holness, 44% chose Golding. That's a 4-point improvement with women over the last 3 months for Golding. Holness also leads with men. 55% of them chose Holness, 45% chose Golding. And unaffiliated voters would also choose Holness by 14 points. 57% of them would opt for the Prime Minister, while 43% would go with Golding. When party supporters are considered, 96% of Labourites say Holness would be their pick. 94% of comrades would choose Golding. 6% of comrades would give Holness their direct vote, while 4% of JLP supporters would give Golding the nod.
Now, tensions flared in the Supreme Court today as defense attorney John Clark clashed with Justice Vinette Graham-Allen over disclosure issues ahead of the high-profile Klansman gang trial. The exchange unfolded during a case management hearing. The trial date for alleged gang leader Tesha Miller and his 22 co-accused has been set for January 7, 2026. Robian Williams was in court.
John Clark, who represents Tesha Miller, rose in court to raise concerns over the Crown's failure to provide a compiled, organized index of statements it intends to rely on. Clark referenced Practice Direction Number 2 of 2024, which outlines the electronic service of documents in criminal matters. But before he could finish his point, Justice Graham-Allen interrupted him. The judge urged Clark to get to the core of his issue.
I know what the practice paper says. What is your problem? Clark began. Milady, I'm asking you to allow me to indicate. Again, he was cut off. Justice Graham Allen interjected. No, me nah go make you chat. Just tell me what your issue is. I have another court to go and preside over. Clark again tried to explain the defense's concern, but the judge directed the prosecution to respond. The prosecution can answer that, cause I not going to answer you. Clark tried again. But milady, you have to, and here's why. Justice Graham Allen responded firmly. No, Mr. Clark. I have to nothing. Take a seat. Mr. Prosecutor, please answer that question. The Crown responded, noting that 3 additional accused men are likely to be added to the case, and therefore more time is needed to comply with the defense's request. Clark attempted to speak only to be shut down once more. He pleaded, Milady, am I not allowed to represent my client? Please allow me. The judge said, Yes, I know you have to talk, but you talk already. I have another court to go to and preside over. Please take your seat. The tension in the courtroom was palpable, with defense attorneys exchanging glances of disbelief and frustration. Miller and the 22 co-accused are scheduled to return to court on July 22, 2025 for another case management hearing. Robianne Williams for Nationwide News.
Criminals have pocketed over $3 billion from stealing cars in 2024. The figure was revealed by head of the Stolen Motor Vehicle Unit at the Counterterrorism and Organized Crime Investigation Branch, CTOC, Detective Inspector Marcel Bedwood. He was speaking on a recent JCF A Force for Good podcast.
If you look at the statistics for last year, the losses amount to over $3 billion. So we're speaking about... That's correct. We're speaking about $3 billion going into the pockets of criminals. The place where the unit is housed is CTOC, where our mandate is to dismantle gangs, disrupt gangs, take away financing from them. So we collaborate heavily with the fraud squad, FID, as also the anti-gang unit within CTOC. So if it is that we discover a ring or a group of persons stealing motor vehicles, they're treated as a gang. And if it is that they have assets, the assets will be seized upon the conclusion of the investigation.
Detective Inspector Marcel Bedwood and Detective Sergeant Joseph Morris told host SSP Dennis Brooks that both car theft and recovery have increased in 2025.
What's the status showing us currently? We're having an 18% increase in the recovery rate when compared to the similar period.
This year, recoveries are up 18%. The stealing of motor vehicles is up as well. What percentage are we looking at as of today?
But as of today, we are seeing a 6% increase in the amount of vehicles being stolen. Earlier in the year, it was a bit higher, but with the efforts of officers on the ground and support, we are seeing it trending.
Detective Sergeant Joseph Morris.
Dennis Chung has been named as the new Chief Technical Director of the Financial Investigations Division, FID, effective June 2. This was announced by the Minister of Finance and the Public Service in a statement a short while ago. It says Mr. Chung brings over 35 years of extensive experience in accounting and financial management, having served in both the public and private sectors. He is a certified public accountant and holds a Bachelor of Science and a Master of Science in Accounting, both from the University of the West Indies. His appointment follows the departure of Selvin Hay, who demitted office in July 2024 upon the completion of his contract. The statement adds that the recruitment or appointment process was managed by the Office of the Services Commissions.
You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Celebrate 26 years with IQ Optical. Enjoy 26% off your prescription eyewear and sunglasses this month only. Book your appointment or take your prescription to IQ Optical in New Kingston, Manor Park, or Drexel. Conditions apply. The time by IQ Optical is...
It's 16 minutes after 5.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is
31 degrees Celsius in Kingston and Montego Bay.
you're a VIP with CIBC Caribbean. Spend US $100 or local equivalent with your CIBC Visa credit card for your chance to win a crop over VIP experience in Barbados. An all-expense paid trip for two, staying at the Courtyard by Marriott Hotel, cultural tours, and Aura Experience with full glam makeup, plus tickets to the hottest last lap events. Visit CIBC Caribbean /crop over 2025 for more info. Conditions apply.
Continuing the news. Cabinet has approved a national day of commemoration for the Eventide fire, which saw over 150 elderly women perish. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie says the day of the fire, May 20, will be memorialized annually.
And once the consent is granted by His Excellency, annually, Madam Speaker, every day on the 20th of May of every year, we will commemorate the life of those who perish at the Eventide home. The Ministry of Local Government, Madam Speaker, holds a responsibility where we will pay tribute. And I'm not going to wait until next May for it to happen, Madam Speaker. Once we have declared it, Madam Speaker, we will take the necessary steps to start the ball rolling. A proper monument, Madam Speaker. The country.
On the morning of May 20, 1980, fire broke out at the two-story Barras ward of the Eventide Home for the Aged. The building was overcrowded and had previously been described as a tinderbox. The building burnt quickly, collapsing just 4 minutes after the arrival of firefighters. Minister McKenzie says the nation should never again place its elderly citizens in such a position.
Madam Speaker, the country should never forget what took place, Madam Speaker. We have had incidents where the poor and the destitute were scraped up and dumped in a mud lake, Madam Speaker. The country cannot and we must never, Madam Speaker, go back to those days where the poor and destitute suffers, Madam Speaker. And this government is committed, Madam Speaker, to ensuring that we do all that we can.
Desmond McKenzie, the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. He was making his contribution to the sectoral debates today.
Founder and CEO of AIM Educational Services, Nicole McLaren Campbell, is urging Jamaican students who want to study in the U.S. to be aware that their digital footprint is permanent. Her words follow the Trump administration's directive to U.S. embassies worldwide to immediately stop scheduling visa interviews for foreign students. The move forms part of an expansion of social media screening and vetting of all applicants for foreign student visas. Speaking on Cliff Hughes Online on Wednesday, Mrs. McLaren Campbell says students should exercise caution when posting anything on social media before and after applying to U.S. universities.
Digital footprint is permanent. You might be cleaning up your social media now, which I certainly urge you to do. I have a saying, you control your controllables, right? And so, of course, you're going to clean up what you can clean up now, but keep in mind that digital footprint is forever. We don't know the type of forensic auditing that's about to take place. You might think just because you deleted the post, it's gone, or you put it on Snap and, you know...
It's never erased.
You don't know, so... How about you just don't post it at all? Mm-hmm. This is not new either, Cliff, meaning there are many colleges who vet student social media as part of their admission review process.
She says while the vetting process also sheds light on other restrictions around student behavior that are enforced even after they have received their visa.
I understand that the U.S. government is going to be looking primarily for anti-Semitism
content
that are involved in sharing certain types of information, supporting certain types of opinions, etc. But you just want to make sure that you are also perceived as somebody who is going to be law-abiding. Because, Cliff, the other thing that's happening behind the scenes that I don't hear many people talking about, but I certainly plan to talk about with our parents, is that there are also new rules that are going to be enforced around kids with existing visas, meaning when you get the visa now, if you skip classes, that could be a violation of your visa terms.
Yes.
Things that would have been previously overlooked.
Nicole McLaren Campbell, founder and CEO of AIM Educational Services.
World in a Minute is brought to you by
ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The world in a minute.
The bodies of 11 people have been found inside a boat washed ashore on one of the islands that forms part of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The 45-foot boat was found grounded in Little Bay on Monday. The identities of the deceased on board remain unclear, but they are believed to have been migrants. According to the BBC, a police official says several passports found at the scene suggest they were from Mali. The West African country is more than 6,000 kilometers or almost 4,000 miles away from the Caribbean country. The discovery comes just months after a boat with 13 dead bodies, some of whom also had Malayan documents, was found washed ashore in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Students around the world are anxious and in limbo as the Trump administration makes plans to temporarily halt U.S. student visa appointments. The directive was disclosed in a State Department cable to international consular sections. It was signed by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The move forms part of an expansion for social media screening and vetting to all applicants for student visas. As such, all future student visa applicants will be subjected to social media vetting. For students, the changes have brought widespread uncertainty with visa appointments at U.S. embassies now unavailable that should be. Speaking with the BBC, the students say the delays put their scholarships at risk. Some students added that the confusion has even left them wishing they had applied to schools outside the U.S. More than 1 million international students from over 200 countries were enrolled in U.S. colleges in the 2023-2024 school year.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour. 220 guns seized in Kingston, the biggest seizure in the country's history.
There's been a 70% drop in murders in May.
NNN Blue Dot polls finds that Andrew Holness would defeat Mark Golding by 10 points if Jamaicans could directly elect the Prime Minister.
Dennis Chung named new Chief Technical Director of the Financial Investigations Division.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Roby Ann Williams.
And listeners, you can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app. It's available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Stop buying expensive toner cartridges. Global Ink is now selling new factory direct generic toners. Remove factory seals, install and print. Engineered to work first time, every time. Certified for use in HP and Brother printers. Worry-free, affordable printing for your peace of mind. Money saved is money earned. We deliver island-wide. 754-7444 or 1-888-NEED-INK. Never run out of toner again. Global Ink.
Experience the joy of buying a brand new Hyundai without breaking the bank. Yes, buying a brand new car should never leave you broke. From stylish designs and safety features to comfortable driving and reliability, Hyundai is the choice. Hyundai vehicles come standard with 2 years free service and 5 years warranty and roadside assistance for your peace of mind. Drive 2 years without service cost and 5 years without fear of being stranded. Hyundai. Conditions apply.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Well-known throws coach Julian Robinson has been appointed to take over as head coach of the track and field program at many-time boys champs winners Calabar High. Robinson, who is credited with transforming the nation into an emerging power in throwing events at the global tournaments, replaces Corey Bennett, who managed the program for the past 2 years. Bennett fell short of the unprecedented feat in becoming the first coach in history to guide schools to the Boys and Girls Championship titles in the same year. Calabar finished second to Kingston College at this year's championships, where his Hydel group of schools won the girls' title. It's a major step up at the school level for Robinson, who is also part of the national coaching pool. The Super Eagles of Nigeria will be Jamaica's opponents in Saturday's final of the Unity Cup in England. Nigeria beat Ghana 2-1 in the All-African clash at Brentford City's G-Tech Arena in London on Wednesday. Before the Jamaica-Nigeria clash on Saturday for the Afro-Caribbean Trophy, Ghana will battle Trinidad and Tobago for third place. Technical Director of Cavalier, Rudolph Speed, believes the powers that be need to build a stadium that is dedicated to playing only football. Cavalier successfully retained their Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League title, beating Mount Pleasant Academy 6-5 on penalties in the final at the National Stadium on Labor Day. However, Speed believes the venue is overused and does not lend to attractive football.
National stadium, that's what it is. We need a football-specific stadium because based on what is happening now with the amount of clubs playing the Caribbean Cup Championship and World Cup qualifiers and those type of matches. We even got one World Cup match some long time ago. It's because we really don't have a good venue why we're not able to host some more of these games. So we need to make up our minds and build a football-specific stadium, and we should be good.
That's Rudolph Speed, Technical Director at Cavalier. English Premier League campaigners Chelsea have won the Europa Conference League title. They came from behind to beat Real Betis of Spain 4-1 in the final at the Tarzinski Arena in Poland. The Blues fell behind after 9 minutes when Abde Ezekoli scored, but the Londoners stormed back with goals from Nicholas Jackson, Enzo Fernandez, Jadon Sancho and Moses Caicedo. Chelsea is now the first club ever to win the Champions League, the Europa Cup and the conference titles. Captain of the West Indies team, Shai Hope, says he's hoping to take the form from the ODI series against Ireland into their 3-match showdown with England. The Windies drew the series with the Irish 1-1. The batsmen scored over 300 runs in 2 of the innings. So the England-West Indies series will bowl off on Thursday with the opening game, a day-night affair at Edgbaston in Birmingham, starting at 7 a.m. Jamaica time.
The progression that we've shown over the last couple of months as a team, especially as a batting unit, it's great signs. But fresh start, obviously a different series, different opposition. So we're going to take that as a confidence builder, yes, but we still got to assess what's happening here. But we're going to certainly learn from the experience that we had in Ireland. I think the more you think about what's in front of you, it kind of calms the nerves. Not too much expectations that you want to put at the back of your mind. Yes, it's the main goal, but you got to really focus on what's in front of you. You can't get to 2027 without ticking each box at a time. So it's important for us to focus on the opposition right there and then continue building until we do get to 2027.
Harry Brook will make his debut as the England captain, and Hope says his inexperience as a leader at this level will be of no consequence when the series begins.
I wouldn't say it's a good or bad time. Regardless of who's playing, we got to make sure we play our cricket. Can't necessarily focus too much on the opposition and what they have going on behind the scenes. But I think it's an opportunity for them as well. I don't think they've been as successful as they would like to be over the last couple of games. So they're certainly going to be coming guns blazing at us, and we understand that, we expect that. But like I said before, we're not necessarily focusing too much on them and what they've got going on behind the scenes. We just want to make sure we stay within and tick all the boxes we need to tick to win this series.
West Indies white ball captain Shai Hope. West Indies haven't won a bilateral ODI series in England since 2007. In fact, their last such visit in 2017 resulted in a 4-0 thrashing. Jamaican opener Brandon King will be playing his 50th one-day international. The West Indies were forced to train indoors on Tuesday, but the forecast for Thursday suggests interruptions will be there, but at a minimum.
This is Nationwide's Champions League Facts.
Did you know that Lionel Messi and Luis Adriano are tied for having scored the most goals in one game? Yes, that's a fact. In 2012, Barcelona's Lionel Messi scored 5 goals in one game, a single game record for any player. His feat was equaled in 2014 by Luis Adriano of Shakhtar Donetsk.
That was Nationwide's Champions League Fact.
Brought to you by AnyBet, your best bet, and ATL Automotive, keeping Jamaica moving.
That's sports. We have more for you at 6:05.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Digicel! Bogo, Sim, Bogo, Sim, get yours today and double the value. Visit your nearest Digicel store and grab your Bogo. Get your Bogo SIM now and get a second SIM free. Enjoy free calling for 3 months between the 2 SIM cards. Plus, a 3-day plan with 300 minutes plus 15 gigabyte any use data on both SIM cards. Visit a Digicel store today. Double the value and share it with friends and family. Bogo. Digicel. Better connected.
Tired of waiting for your ride? Want safety and peace of mind on every journey? Amber On Time is here. With verified drivers, real-time vehicle tracking, and panic button with armed security response, your safety is our priority. Reliable service, easy booking, premium experience, it's all just a tap away. Download Amber On Time today.
3 decades, one epic sale. For 30 years, Active Home Center has been transforming homes across Jamaica. Now it's time to celebrate with you. Join us for our 30th anniversary sale, Monday, May 26th to Saturday, May 31st in Kingston and Montego Bay. Enjoy up to 30% off selected items, including tiles, bathrooms, furniture, lighting, and appliances. You don't want to miss your chance to save big. Active Home Center, more savings, more choices.
The police have made the integration of advanced technology into their operation a top priority. Some of these initiatives include equipping police stations with electronic station record and case management system. A major milestone is our modernization effort has been the upgrade and expansion of P25 digital radio communication system, providing secure, reliable, real-time connectivity for law enforcement personnel across Jamaica. To date, 51 stations are live with these systems. These enhanced communication capabilities have significantly improved emergency responsiveness, tactical deployments, and coordination among units, particularly during heavy operations.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
Football fans, it's the clash to determine Europe's king. When Inter Milan battles PSG in the final of the UEFA Champions League, live on the big screen at Carib 5. Join us on Saturday, May 31 at 2 p.m. for the ultimate match day experience. Brought to you by the Amber Group, Nationwide News Network, and Palace Amusement.
Dumfries, first time!
Big goals, big screens, and big vibes. Tickets are $500 for general admission and $800 for box seats. Limited tickets available, so grab yours today at the Carib 5 box office or online at palaceamusements.com. Feel the thrill of the Champions League final, just like you're in the stadium.
Tune in to Nationwide at 5 from 6 to 8 p.m. on Thursday, May 29, as we highlight the University of the West Indies, Mona's UWI Star. UWI Star is a short-term advancement and resource center specializing in short and professional courses. Learn more and build a better future at the University of the West Indies. Unlock your potential and expand your horizons with the UWI Mona's UWI Star. It offers dynamic short courses designed for flexibility, focused on your future. Whether you're upskilling for promotion, exploring a new industry, or sharpening your job-ready skills, our cutting-edge programs are your gateway to growth. Learn anytime, anywhere with courses built to fit your lifestyle and career goals. So tune in to Nationwide at 5, Thursday, May 29 from 6 to 8 p.m. Bridge the gap between education and real-world demands with the UWI Mona's UWI Star. Catch the live stream on our YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live 2. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the University of the West Indies. Visit www.mona.uwi.edu/short course and take your first step towards a brighter, smarter future today.
cover story is brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
Experience the joy of buying a brand new Hyundai without breaking the bank. Yes, buying a brand new car should never leave you broke. From stylish designs and safety features to comfortable driving and reliability, Hyundai is the choice. Hyundai vehicles come standard with 2 years free service and 5 years warranty and roadside assistance for your peace of mind. Drive 2 years without service cost and 5 years without fear of being stranded. Hyundai. Conditions apply.
The nationwide Blue Dot polls, powered by Total Tools. Total Tools, they almost always have it.
Good afternoon, listeners and viewers. Welcome to the cover story. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And my name is Sanjay Lewis, and our focus this afternoon is on the nationwide Blue Dot polls, and Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness would defeat opposition leader Mark Golding by 10 points if Jamaicans could directly elect their Prime Minister. That's according to the latest nationwide Blue Dot polls powered by Total Tools. Despite Dr. Holness' advantage in the hypothetical direct matchup, Golding has managed to narrow the gap over the last 3 months. Mahiri Stewart has the details.
It's a question the Blue Dot pollsters have put to Jamaicans over the last 2 years. If they could directly elect the Prime Minister, who would they choose? The question was again put to voters between May 2 and 17. Back in 2023, Holness comfortably cleared a field of popular politicians. Jamaicans say he would be their man. In September 2024, in the direct hypothetical matchup with Holness, Golding was within striking distance. He trailed by only 5 points. In February this year, Holness pulled ahead, opening up a massive 14-point lead over his opposition counterpart. Fast forward to May, and Holness's lead has dipped to 10 points. 55% of Jamaicans say they would choose him. 45% say they would go with Golding. That's a 4-point fall-off from the lead the Prime Minister enjoyed 3 months ago. Holness leads Golding across all but 2 age demographics. The opposition leader draws even with the Prime Minister, with voters 35 to 44 years old, and bests him by 2 points with voters over 65 years old. That 2-point lead is within the poll's margin of error of 2.3%. Golding's gain is with voters over 65 years. He has improved his standing with them by 4 points in the last 3 months. The opposition leader has also seen a 5-point improvement with voters 35 to 44 years old. The Prime Minister dominates Golding across all 14 parishes, holding a massive 24-point lead in St. Thomas. 62% of voters in the Eastern Parish would choose Holness, 38% would choose Golding. Holness also holds double-digit leads in Clarendon, Portland, St. Catherine, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, and St. James. Golding significantly narrows the gap in Kingston and St. Andrew and St. Mary, where Holness's lead shrinks to 2 points. The Prime Minister is 4 points ahead in Hanover, Manchester, St. Anne, and 6 points ahead in Trelawney. As it stands, the Governor-General appoints the person best able to command the confidence of the majority of the House of Representatives. By convention, that has been the leader of the governing party. But with these numbers, Holness may wonder if the hypothetical question might not be one to seriously consider. Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Thank you, Mahiri. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Andrew Holness continues to perform well with female voters. He leads opposition leader Mark Golding by 11 points, with women on the hypothetical question of a direct vote for Prime Minister. 56% of women chose Holness, 44% chose Golding. That's a 4-point improvement with women over the last 3 months for Golding.
Holness also leads with men. 55% of them chose Holness, 45% chose a Golding. And unaffiliated voters would also choose Holness by 14 points. 57% of them would opt for the Prime Minister, while 43% would go with Golding.
When party supporters are considered, 96% of Laborites say Holness would be their pick, while 94% of comrades would choose Mr. Golding. 6% of comrades would give Holness their direct vote over, while 4% of JLP supporters would give Golding the nod. Well, for reactions to these findings, we're being joined by President of the Jamaica Employers Federation, that is Wayne Chen, and political commentator Kevin O'Brien Chang. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon to you both. Let's start with you, Wayne Chen. There's information coming around. While Golding has improved his position somewhat, the Prime Minister still remains overall far more popular in terms of a direct pick of Prime Minister. Your reaction?
Hardly surprising at this particular point, bearing in mind two things: that a poll is only a snapshot at a particular point, and that the only real poll is when an actual election is held. The last real poll, which would have been local government elections in February of last year, the PNP got 52% of the popular vote versus 48% for the Labour Party. The Prime Minister seeing an uptick in popularity now would not be surprising, given the fact that the majority of voters, number one, concern is crime, and the reduction in crime in the last year or so has been unprecedented. I mean, just this evening, the headline saying that May to May, year to year, 24 to 25 is down 70%. After a while, that reality begins to take hold with voters. It takes a little while for the numbers, the lived experience to catch up with the statistical numbers, but I think that the Prime Minister is getting a bit of buoyancy now with this positive news.
Yeah. And Kevin O'Brien Chang, what do you make of it, especially for the PNP, who, as we have recognized, have been on the road with their president for some time, but they are unable to close that gap when matched against the Prime Minister? Your thoughts on that?
Well, there's something a little contradictory in this poll so far. Not contradictory, but curious. Why the Prime Minister's lead over the opposition leader has shrunk from 14% ahead, 14%, now 10% ahead. Yet the confidence in the JLP over the PNP increased. So you sometimes you wonder what's in the mind of voters, If they are more confident in the Prime Minister's party, how come you are less confident in the Prime Minister in terms of voting issues? Even the confidence in the Prime Minister went up. What matters is not how people feel, it is how they vote. And it is saying that if they had the vote in February, Mr. Holness won by 57-43, I believe, and now he's only ahead 55-45. Shrinking lead. Makes you wonder, because all these polls, the only number of people really are going to pay attention to in the end is the voting intention by a party.
Yes.
Which was 6% ahead for the JLP last time. But if their leaders' lead has shrunk, maybe the party lead has also shrunk. I mean, it's accepted that Holness is more popular than the JLP. It's widely accepted. And also generally felt that Golding is less popular than the PNP. So with a 10% lead for Holness over Golding, chances are it's a less than 10% lead for the JLP over the PNP if they have a lead at all. So it's a bit contradictory. I don't know the reasons why. I can only say the numbers are showing the JLP's lead over the PNP as risen in terms of confidence, but in terms of the voting, if I had to vote for the president, the lead of the Prime Minister has shrunk over the opposition leader. So mixed signals there somewhere.
And that's where I'd like to take it after the break, gentlemen, so please stay with us.
Clear your barrels and personal shipments with ease and convenience. Request a customs contactless clearance today through CCP at jca.gov.jm. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is...
It's 15 minutes to 6.
Burn Shock fried chicken always ready. Burn Shock, original crispy. Burn Shock, Cajun spicy. Burn Shock, a barbecue. Burn Shock, we are go a Burn Shock.
The temperature brought to you by Bird Shack Fried Chicken in Kingston, Montego Bay, and Ochivios is...
It's 30 degrees Celsius here in the capital city, Kingston, and it's 30 as well out west in Montego Bay.
Don't fall victim to deepfakes.
Watch out.
Protect yourself.
What is the
For more
on TV?
information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or
Here ya,
scan
baby.
the QR code on screen.
Deepfake. No deepfake can't catch me.
Junior, you know say AI can make something will look and sound just like you? One day Junior get a voice note from her granny. Say the food done, the medication done, and she need money urgently.
Need money urgently? But Miss Pat no like ask people for things.
And as so comes, Judy get suspicious.
So what she do?
She asks the neighbor to go check pan her. Junior, the lady quite alright over there make her Sunday dinner.
So the voice not a deep fake?
Yes, my love. Come, your food ready.
Right now it look like we have to outsmart the AI. But wait, I really want dege dumpling here, give me.
Me I wonder if AI can make one deep fake dumpling for you.
To learn more about deepfakes, visit www.broadcastingcommission.org.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, is a financial reporting firm that delivers accounting and compliance services on time. Call us today at 876-908-0486-7. Email us at clientservices@cocnjamaica.com or visit our website at www.cocnjamaica.com. COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to the cover story. We're talking about the party leaders. Who would you pick if you could vote for Prime Minister directly? The Prime Minister, that is Dr. Andrew Holness, has a 10-point lead over his opposition counterpart, Mark Golding, though Golding has gotten a 4-point improvement over the last time the question was put to those polled. Well, we have with us to discuss further, that is Wayne Chen. He's the president of the Jamaica Employees Federation, and political commentator Kevin O'Brien Chang. So, Kevin, Wayne Chen you raised a good point regarding how this should match up in terms of the party standings and how it would play in terms of when an election is actually called, because even if we ask the question, we don't elect our prime minister directly, we vote for MPs. But to what extent does the party leaders' standing impact voter turnout and voter sentiment?
Well, historically, the only election I can remember where the less popular leader won was perhaps, and we don't know for sure, perhaps in 1980, when despite JLP crushing the PNP, Michael Manley was still very popular. I don't know if they went into the granular those days and said which leader was more popular at the time, but overall we know Michael Manley was always more popular than Edward Sergo. But still the JLP crushed the PNP in 1980. Every other election I can remember, the more popular leader won. In 2007, Bruce Golding and Portia Simpson Miller were pretty much neck to neck. And it was a very close election also. But all the other times, the popular guy tends to win. His party tends to win anyway. So, but this one, as I said, it's mixed signals because the JLP is performing, has increased in its gap over the PNP in terms of the party they trust and the confidence and all that. You'd have thought that would have filtered into the Holness versus Golding, but it hasn't. And maybe the voters might feel something and vote differently. Maybe they're tired of the two-term syndrome. Only one party in Jamaica has ever won 3 consecutive terms. That's the PNP in the 90s. Okay. Every other two-term government has been booted out. So voters are pretty unpredictable, and who can say?
If you'd allow me a follow-up, Sanjay, I want to put it to you, Wayne Chen, though. Could this, though, signal a change in how we vote, essentially? Is it that the era of the cult of personality that we tend to put in party leaders over, and it is more a shift to what the MPs and the candidates bring to the table?
Yes, assuming that the numbers are right. Remember, as I say, poll is really theory. Yes, it may well signal that. And voters are not a homogeneous block. there will be voters who vote strictly on party loyalty. There are the voters who are enticed by personalities. It was said back in the 70s when I came of age that Michael Manley had charisma, and people loved Michael even when they were voting against Michael Manley. This time around, let us theoretically say that a part of the buoyancy now of the ruling party is due to the good reduction in crime numbers, but a part of the face of that is the Minister of National Security, and an even more compelling part of that is the huge surge in popularity that I think about there for the Commissioner of Police. So the credit for good times may not go to the party leader as it would have in the past. And I think what we're seeing perhaps is a maturing of the electorate. The Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, may well be still tracking ahead of his party in popularity, but I get a sense that those numbers are emerging both for the ruling party and the opposition.
Kevin, I want to hear you on that. Is it really a maturing of the electorate, as Wayne Chen indicated, or I wanted to zoom in on the matter of the unaffiliated voters, where Holness leads by 14 points. We know the JLP traditionally depends heavily on those uncommitted voters. What do you think is driving those individuals to support a Holness? Is it the national development, or is it just Andrew Holness himself?
No, well, Andrew Holness is, in my mind, it would be interesting to see a poll. I think he's probably the most popular prime minister in Jamaica's history. Michael Manley was very popular in his day, but a large chunk of the population did not like Manley at all. It's a very divided society those days. Andrew Holness now, even the PNP, they're not going to vote for him, but they like him. He's a likable guy, and he's a kind of a puppy, the big puppy dog. So the women are always hugging him up. For sure, women love Holness. So I don't know if we are seeing any shift. It's only one data set here to think about any big shift, but I've always felt it's party and leader, and the rest is all secondary. People really don't vote.
So you don't think it's a maturing of the electorate?
Well, we don't know. It's one data point, but I don't know if it's maturing. I mean, I think in the end, the people vote for party, and the leader is a part of that. The MP comes very far behind in influencing. The Carlson Wood has come along very rarely, where he won for both parties. But as I said, if everybody, all the data is saying people are more confident in Holness, they're more confident in the JLP. We've seen those numbers increase, and yet his lead over Mark Golding has shrunk. We can parse and come up with theories. We don't know why. And the only theory I can come up with is the three-term syndrome. And very rarely does, in the Westminster system, I think very rarely does any party get 3 terms all over the world.
So there's a fatigue.
That's the one thing I can think of. We want a change. Yes, only the governance of the JLP is good, and we're confident. But hey, maybe we'll continue under the PNP and we'll see new faces and we want a change. That would be the main thing I could see, because I can't see any weakness other than that for the JLP, really. They're performing well. The Prime Minister seems popular on the ground. What could be a possible weakness for them? And the fatigue is the only one I can think of. Maybe Wayne will see other things that I haven't.
But how do you explain this, Wayne Chen? Look at it another way. Amongst female voters, the Prime Minister has improved by 4 points to 60%. But he has slipped slightly by 2 points among male voters. What's the differentiation there?
The Prime Minister has in recent times put out an image of vigorous sex appeal. I mean, I can't avoid it. He's athletic, he's moving. In a matchup, it's said all over the world that politics, to some degree, is a beauty contest. And I think he is ahead on that score. And I will come back to my point. The electorate is a mixed bag. It's mixed. We have seen a time, 40 years ago, when Carl Stone would tell you that the number one reason why people vote in Jamaica is party loyalty. No matter who is running, party loyalty is. We have seen a diminishing in that factor, but it's still a serious factor. So you still have your hardcore supporters who are going to vote for whatever candidate the party puts up. You have seen a demographic shift in the electorate. more newer generations now are not tied to the old green and the old orange of Michael Manley and Edward Seaga. The median age in Jamaica is 30. Half the population of this country have no direct memory of the 1990s, much less the 1970s. So you've seen a lot of shifting. I use the term very loosely when I said maturing earlier. But I think that party loyalty is less a factor. And just as you've seen in many countries, there was a adage in the United States that the taller candidate always won. The people have a vision of a view, shaped perhaps by media, shaped by socialization, of what their prime minister looks like, and the prime minister becomes an aspirational figure. So the taller, better-looking man will have an advantage among some people, even if they find other ways to justify it. But we are hardwired for that. It is something almost inherent in human beings. It's not a coincidence that the typical leader is better looking than the average person in the population. As I said, we are hardwired for that.
I want to pick your brain, Wayne, on the age gap. We recognize that the only age group that the PNP leads is that of the 65 years or old. And we know these individuals from a very long time, coming back from the Michael Manley era where they are supporting Joshua regardless of what. Could it be that the PNP now is in a spot of bother because they can't seem to dominate the JLP in any other age bracket outside of the 65 years or older, which we know those individuals are slowly moving to retirement, or some have gone to retirement and some are dying. So will there be a challenge for the PNP now to gain grounds in the other areas?
That is self-evident almost. Those of us who came of age in the 1970s came out of political consciousness. The boomers, as my children would laughingly say. Remember that energy of the 1970s under Michael Manley. Better must come 1972. I mean, it's like that was yesterday. That was when people got excited about the promise of Jamaica and the vision for Jamaica. When people say they are Michael Manleyites, I say, is it the 1972 Michael Manley or is it the 1989 Michael Manley? Because they had quite different political philosophies. But the fact is that there is still a lot of sentiment that carries over from the 1970s among my generation, people in their 60s and 70s. And it should be of concern for the PNP if they can't reignite, reinvigorate that sort of vision among their younger supporters. Because it would seem to me that the young, vigorous, or relatively young, vigorous Andrew Holness seems to be resonating more among the 18 to 24s, the 18 to 35s, in fact, as the recent polls have suggested. It might definitely need a rethink in terms of the image and the vigor that the PNP would want to start the momentum rolling among our new generation of voters, if the poll is correct on that.
We're almost out of time, gentlemen, but I would like to hear you on the same topic, Kevin O'Brien Chang, because, I mean, the last few elections has shown that younger demographic has not exactly been a very reliable voting base, whereas the older demographic, you can almost always count on them to come out when an election is called. So should the Holness administration take comfort in terms of them seizing the momentum amongst those younger voters, or should we still expect that the PNP, having their strong base in the older demographic, can still put out strong numbers?
You know, I have a theory. Nobody really knows it. I believe people vote in government or vote out government. The opposition is always an unknown quantity. You know, so it depends how they feel about the government. If they get tired of them, they vote them out, regardless of the opposition. Look on Trinidad recently. The opposition is not that popular, you know. Kamala, the lady that won, is seen as many wanted her out and gone because they say she's been there before, didn't do a great job. But they won in a landslide because the government was very unpopular. It wasn't any popularity for the opposition. And that tends to be the trend in Westminster all over the world. So I don't know the PNP what they can do, but it's usually the government's race to lose or win. And you would think, as I come back to the point, all the confidence factors are showing Jamaicans are more confident with the JLP. But there's this poll shows the lead is shrinking of Holness over Golding And chances are the lead might show the lead shrinking of JLP over PNP also. Maybe, as I said, I cannot think of any other factor except we're tired of them face who want something new. Because certainly all the metrics are in the positive direction. The crime is down. And so we shall see the numbers at the end. But in the end, it is a mixed bag, which I don't have a logical explanation for, except for we're tired to see them face. I don't have anything else I can think of.
And I suppose that is one way to leave it, gentlemen. We're out of time, but that's definitely something to chew on. And I suppose those questions will be answered when that election date is called, and no other date will matter until then. Thank you, Wayne Shen. He's the president of the Jamaica Employers Federation, and political commentator Kevin O'Brien Chang. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you much.
Have a good afternoon. The headlines are next.
Cover Story was brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
Taboo topics. Bulletins after dark.
Riveting discussions.
Celebrity news and interviews.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between. Bulletins after dark with Kareem Bulletins each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Bulletins after dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Bulletins after dark.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
2 minutes after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Nationwide News understands that the police have made what's being described as the biggest gun seizure in the country's history. It's understood that at least 220 guns were intercepted, making their way into the island at a location in Kingston. It's understood that the cache of arms and ammunition was intercepted earlier this week. Our sources say that up to news time, tens of thousands of rounds of ammunition had been counted by the lawmen. It's further understood that the counting of the ammunition could well continue into this weekend. This is a developing story. Murders in May are down 70%. That's according to Police Commissioner Dr. Kevin Blake. He made the revelation while speaking at the Jamaica Police Federation's 82nd Annual Joint Central Conference on Tuesday.
As at today, May 27th, we're seeing 37 murders compared to 110 last year, the same time May. And what is profound about it is that if you look at the statistics over the last maybe a decade, May has always been a high crime month. We have studied it, we tried to understand what is it that caused May. And so we do a lot of things to try and change that, but nothing changed. But this year we decided that we're going to take a different approach. There are several fears that we had. And so we applied ourselves. I know the work towards it started from as early as February this year in looking at May. And so May last year was 134 murders. And today we are seeing 70% less murders in May this year.
The police commissioner further revealed that the country is now recording a 43% drop in murders. Dr. Blake also hailed the policing efforts of the rank-and-file members in the JCF's success in bringing murders down to historic lows this year.
I think we do not celebrate our successes enough. We don't want to be complacent, as the chairman rightfully say. Whatever success you enjoy now, you're expecting more after that. But we don't stop and smell the roses often enough. As of today, we are experiencing a 43% reduction in murders. 43% reduction. February of this year, we celebrated the lowest month in, I would say 25 years, because it's 25 years since we started collating data like this. And when I did my check, beyond 25 years, we still hadn't had a month as low as February. April quickly broke February's record. The first quarter of this year,
is the lowest quarter we've seen in 25 years.
Dr. Kevin Blake, Commissioner of Police. Dennis Chung has been named as the new Chief Technical Director of the Financial Investigations Division, FID, effective June 2. This was announced by the Minister of Finance and the Public Service in a statement a short while ago. It says Mr. Chung brings over 35 years of extensive experience in accounting and financial management, having served in both the public and private sectors. He's a certified public accountant and holds a Bachelor of Science and a Master of Science in Accounting, both from the University of the West Indies. His appointment follows the departure of Selvin Hay, who demitted office in July 2024 upon the completion of his contract. The statement adds that the recruitment appointment process was managed by the Office of the Services Commissions. Criminals have pocketed over $3 billion from stealing cars in 2024. The figure was revealed by the head of the Stolen Motor Vehicle Unit at the Counterterrorism and Organized Crime Investigations Branch, CTOC, Detective Inspector Marcel Bedward. He was speaking on a recent JCF's A Force for Good podcast.
If you look at the statistics for last year, the losses amount to over $3 billion. So we're speaking about... That's correct. We're speaking about $3 billion going into the pockets of criminals. The place where the unit is housed is CTOC, where our mandate is to dismantle gangs, disrupt gangs, take away financing from them. So we collaborate heavily with the fraud squad, FID, as also the anti-gang unit within CTOC. So if it is that we discover a ring or a group of persons stealing motor vehicles, they're treated as a gang. And if it is that they have assets, the assets will be seized upon the conclusion of the investigation.
Detective Inspector Marcel Bedward, head of CTOC's Stolen Motor Vehicle Unit, and Detective Sergeant Joseph Morris told host SSP Dennis Brooks that car theft and recovery have both increased in 2025.
What's the statistics showing us currently? We're having an 18% increase in the recovery rate when compared to the similar period.
This year, recoveries are up 18%. The stealing of motor vehicles is up as well. What percentage are we looking at as of today?
Well, as of today, we are seeing a 6% increase in the amount of vehicles being stolen. Earlier in the year, it was a bit higher, but with the efforts of officers on the ground and so forth, we are seeing it trending.
Detective Sergeant Joseph Morris. The government is launching a national organics policy to better position the country to export its produce. Agriculture Minister Floyd Green says the policy should be tabled as a white paper by the end of Q4 of the 2025-2026 financial year.
We are developing a national organic agricultural policy. This national organic agricultural policy will serve as the roadmap to unlock Jamaica's potential in this expanding global market. It will provide legal and regulatory framework, institutional framework for organic certification to ensure that it is credible, accessible, and aligned. We are going to enhance market access for certified organic products, both locally and internationally. We want to position Jamaica as the leader in sustainable and organic production. We believe we can maximize our returns on investment.
Floyd Green, Minister of Agriculture. He was making his contribution to the sectoral debate presentation in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. He added that the policy will bring to reality the vision of a Jamaica where the label organic is a standard of excellence that farmers proudly meet and markets eagerly embrace. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Sports is next.
What makes a burrito bond so attractive?
We have a history of strong financial performance and growth, demonstrating resilience.
Our leverage remains low relative to our peers.
The bond is available in both Jamaican and US dollars, ranging from tenures between 2 to 10 years at attractive interest rates. Plus, it's expected to be listed, which will enhance liquidity for all investors.
Burrito bonds are burrito strong. Download our prospectus, call a burrito advisor, and invest today.
Enough power tool, big to small. Jackama figure dig the wall. Our Total Tools. Beat walker figure trim the lawn. We have everything a job demand. Total Tools. We rent them, sell them and fix them. Also give Total Tools a call. When I say home improvement, landscape construction, a Total Tools are your option. Home improvement, landscape construction, Total Tools are your option.
Total Tools located at 102 Main Street, Ocho Rios, 34 Slipe Road, Kingston. And lot C6 Jacksaw, Sentence Bay. Call us today.
You're a VIP with CIBC Caribbean. Spend US $100 or local equivalent with your CIBC Visa credit card for your chance to win a crop over VIP experience in Barbados. An all expense paid trip for two, staying at the Courtyard by Marriott Hotel, cultural tours, and Aura experience with full glam makeup plus tickets to the hottest last lap events. Visit CIBC Caribbean /crop over 2025 for more info. Conditions apply.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Well-known throws coach Julian Robinson has been appointed to take over as head coach of the track and field program at many times boys champs winners Calabar High. Robinson, who's credited with transforming the nation into an emerging power in throwing events at the global events, replaces Corey Bennett, who managed the program for the past 2 years. Bennett fell short of the unprecedented feat in becoming the first coach in history to guide schools to the boys and girls championship titles in the same year. Calabar finished second to Kingston College at this year's championships, where his Hydel group of schools won the girls' title. It's a major step up at the school level for Robinson, who's also part of the national coaching pool. The Super Eagles of Nigeria will be Jamaica's opponents in Saturday's final of the Unity Cup in England. Nigeria beat Ghana 2-1 in their All-African clash at Brentford City's G-Tech Stadium in London on Wednesday. Before the Jamaica-Nigeria clash on Saturday, Ghana will battle Trinidad and Tobago for third place. Technical Director of Cavalier, Rudolph Speed, believes the powers that be need to build a stadium that is dedicated to the playing of football only. Cavalier successfully retained their Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League title, beating Mount Pleasant Academy 6-5 on penalties in the final at the National Stadium on Labor Day. However, Speed believes the venue is overused and does not lend itself to attractive football.
The international stadium, that's what it is. We need a football-specific stadium because based on what is happening now, with the amount of clubs play the Caribbean Cup Championship and World Cup qualifiers and those type of matches. We even got one Gold Cup match some long time ago. It's because we really don't have a good venue. Why we're not able to host some more of these games. So we need to make up our minds and build a football-specific stadium, and we should be good.
Rudolph Speed. English Premier League campaigners Chelsea, they've won the Europa League Conference League title. They came from behind to beat Real Betis of Spain 4-1 in the final at the Tarzyński Arena in Poland. The Blues fell behind after 9 minutes when Abde Ezekoli scored, but the Londoners stormed back with goals from Nicholas Jackson, Enzo Fernandez, Jadon Sancho and Moises Caicedo. Chelsea is now the first club ever to win the Champions League, the Europa Cup and the conference title.
This is Nationwide's Champions League Facts.
Did you know that Lionel Messi and Luis Adriano are tied for having scored the most goals in one game? Yes, that's a fact. In 2012, Barcelona's Lionel Messi scored 5 goals in one game, a single game record for any player. His feat was equaled in 2014 by Luis Adriano of Shakhtar Donetsk.
That was Nationwide's Champions League Fact.
Brought to you by AnyBet, your best bet, and ATL Automotive, keeping Jamaica moving.
Of course, Nationwide 90 FM will have live coverage of the Champions League final on Saturday from Germany. We start our build-up at 1:30. The game kicks off at 2 o'clock. We'll come to you from Carib 5 in Crossroads, where the game will also be shown live on the big screen in the cinema. And the tickets are going at the minute, $500 for regular seats and $800 for box seat. And we're going to be down there on Saturday with the Nationwide team bringing you the build-up to the game. At halftime, we'll have a discussion as well at the end of the game as well. It's expected to be a big day on Saturday as the campaign in Europe comes to a grand climax. And the captain of the West Indies team, Shea Hope, says they're hoping to take their good form from the ODI series against Ireland into their three-match showdown with England. The Windies drew the series against Ireland 1-1, with the batsmen scoring over 300 runs in 2 of the innings. The England-West Indies series bowls off on Thursday with the opening game, a day-night affair at Edgbaston, starting at 7 a.m. Jamaica time.
The progression that we've shown over the last couple of months as a team, especially as a batting unit, it's great signs. But fresh start, obviously a different series, different opposition. So we're going to take that as a confidence builder, yes, but we still got to assess what's happening here. But we're going to certainly learn from the experience that we had in Ireland. I think the more you think about what's in front of you, it kind of calms the nerves. Not too much expectations that you want to put at the back of your mind. Yes, it's the main goal, but you got to really focus on what's in front of you. You can't get to 2027 without ticking each box at a time. So it's important for us to focus on the opposition right there and then continue building and building until we do get to 2027.
Harry Brook will lead the England side, and Hope says his inexperience as a leader at this level will be of no consequence when the series begins.
I wouldn't say it's a good or bad time. Regardless of who's playing, we got to make sure we play our cricket. Can't necessarily focus too much on the opposition and what they have going on behind the scenes. But I think it's an opportunity for them as well. I don't think they've been as successful as they would like to be over the last couple of games. So they're certainly going to be coming guns blazing at us, and we understand that, and we expect that. But like I said before, we're not necessarily focusing too much on them and what they've got going on behind the scenes. We just want to make sure we stay within and tick all the boxes we need to tick to win this series.
As West Indies captain Shea Hope, West Indies haven't won a bilateral one-day international series in England since 2007. In fact, their last such visit in 2017 resulted in a 4-0 hammering. Jamaican opener Brandon King will be playing in his 50th one-day international. West Indies were forced to train indoors on Tuesday, but the forecast for Thursday suggests interruptions will be there, but at a minimum. A galaxy of stars will descend on the National Stadium next week, Saturday, June 7th, at the 7th staging of the Racers Grand Prix. CEO of Racers, Devon Blake, says patrons will see a number of world stars.
So we have our local cadre led by Kishi and Thompson, Olympic silver medalist, Sherika Jackson, Olympic champion. The Clayton twins who are fast rising, Masai Russell, who recently broke the American record, Rashid Broadbell, young Gary Card, Walaza, the South African, who just broke the 10 seconds, living in Charlton. But we're not short of star quality. Megan Tupper. There are people who will be performing at their best. Tobias Moosan, world record holder. So there's a host of people who are breaking records and performing. Then there's the Oblique Civil, the Zarnell Hughes, and persons who have been performing at the top.
And Blake says the event will be like a precursor to the World Championships in Japan.
It will be a stellar event. The planning, the organization is world class. Dr. The Honorable Glenn has created a product that is beyond compare on the local calendar. In fact, I go as far as to say in the Western Hemisphere, it is one of the best meets. Grand Prix comes at a time when most athletes are trying to fine-tune. So the times generally there and performances are reflective of what we can expect at the World Championship time.
That's Devon Blake and the CEO of Racers Grand Prix. That's sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:19.
It's $1 million summer with Mitsubishi, and if I reach we go, we have to reach it. Triton, cross it to safe and easy. Expander, link up Ochi week. It's $1 million summer with Mitsubishi L200 with space and seating comfortable. It's a Mitsubishi, hey, it's a Mitsubishi. It's $1 million off, them 3 ride. Features nice with the leather inside. Cool AC, everybody feel right. It's $1 million summer, $1 million summer.
Conditions apply.
Make a toast to your future. The JTA Cooperative Credit Union is by your side. All educators, the best is what you deserve.
We'll keep your dreams alive.
Competitive loans to help you grow.
We'll take you higher.
Great returns on your savings. A bright future is in the making.
Build the best you with the best credit union. We are committed to serving you.
The JTA Cooperative Credit Union, serving our members, impacting lives positively.
Who will climb Europe's football Everest? Will it be Inter Milan?
Good ball from Di Marco. Dumfries and Lautaro Martinez!
Or will it be Paris Saint-Germain?
Dembele has other ideas. What a chance! What a goal!
On Saturday, May 31, the two heavy hitters of the European game will clash at the Allianz Arena in Germany in the European Champions League final.
Artist lost that one. Here's Hakimi!
Nationwide 90 FM will be at the center of it all as we take you to Bavaria for live coverage of this titanic showdown.
Tudor nearly controlled. Dumfries, first time! Francesco Acerbi! Acerbi, the hero!
Join the Nationwide team at Carib 5 in Crossroads as we build up to the game starting at 1:30 p.m. Live coverage of the European Champions League final on Nationwide 90 FM Saturday, May 31 is brought to you courtesy of the Amber Group. The Amber Group, pioneering innovation. Any bet, your best bet. And ATL Automotive, keeping Jamaica moving. The game can also be seen live at Carib 5.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Ooh. Hello. Hello and good evening. Welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Special good evening to our friends over on YouTube. We invite you to also weigh in live in the comment section on today's Public Opinion. Right, so older voters say Mark Golding is suited, well suited as a matter of fact, to the job of leading the opposition People's National Party, and that's according to the latest nationwide Blue Dot polls powered by Total Tools. The findings come as Golding consolidates his support among a key voting demographic heading into this year's general election. The PNP president has been at the helm of the 87-year-old party for nearly 5 years. When the Blue Dot pollsters asked 1,618 registered voters to rate how well suited Golding was for the job of leading the PNP, 11% feel Golding is extremely well suited for his job, while 17% say he's poorly suited to it. But when age is considered, a different picture emerges. Those over 55 years had the most positive response. A combined 43% of those voters over the age of 55 say Golding is extremely well suited for the job. A combined total of the same age cohort who disagreed was 42%. The nationwide Blue Dot polls powered by Total Tools was conducted between May 2 and May 17. So in Public Opinion, today we're asking you, let's say, a simplified version of the question. We're going to ask you, the public. Yes, we're going to ask you, the public, on a scale of 1 to 5. How would this is the left side of the screen. No, this is the right side. On a scale of 1 to 5, there we go, for the YouTubers. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate the performance of Mark Golding as opposition leader? So let's see what y'all think. We're gonna start with Instagram, and the person that kicks us off today is Senpai Akihiko, who says, I think he is the best opposition leader and he should be given back the position after the election. So I'm gonna give him a 5. Vote Mark Golding for next opposition leader. All right, bro, we see what you're saying. Sex Prelo says he needs a stylist. He doesn't look presentable to be running for one of the highest in Jamaica. When he's talking to the people, he talks patois, which to me comes off as lowering yourself to their lower level. Is that so? Because they can't understand anything else. But when he's in an interview, he speaks standard English. He does not attend any functions that's related to Jamaica. He always sends a representative. Last year, he missed Grand Gala because he was tired, but go to another Caribbean island celebration. How can you want to be prime minister and don't take the time to be part of what's happening in the country? He backtracks on issues and turns everything into political football. Even on issues that should never be in the political space. That's great, Sex Perla, but what's the rating though? What's your rating 1 to 5? I still haven't seen any ratings yet. Top Fake Cop says 0. All right. Don that says negative because him already. Well, I can't read some of these, man. Oh, this is going to be a difficult one. Will Ryan Wilson says out of 5, I would fairly give him 2.5. He's definitely not the strongest opposition leader we have had. I guess there is still room for improvement. There we go. Barnabas says about 2. Gordon Anthony says 1. Cam Love says 1 as well. It's Lady K. Hutchinson says 0. Shebu Savage says -1. Abbott Road says 1. The Boss Man says 1. Father Lush says 20. Gloria Watson says 0. Lethal Man says -0.5. What else we have here? Let's see. 0 says Shav Replica. He's a wannabe. What else we got here? 0 says Latio North, and I'm being gracious. We need a 0 on the scale, says White Boy Acha, because it's 0 for me. 0 says Jamstar 876, Tanya Brissett, Chop Move 21, Sensational Simmer, Dalton Archer, and Shower Chuck. So that's what we have over on Instagram. But if we go over to our X platform, will the answers differ? Let's take a look. So we asked the folks over on X on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate Mark Golding as the leader of opposition? And let's take a look at the answers that we received. So Dominic Tucker says 0.5, he should stay in opposition. It suits him there. His behavior is a turn-off for many, never present at any national events, and shows his lack of respect for Jamaica on a whole. What else do you have here? Tia Davis says 1, he's not authentic, not sure who he really is. Okay. Jay Brown says 1 is extremely poor, but where is 0? Sean says he's not even suitable to be opposition leader. Damian Meeks says, I think he's one of the best opposition leaders. He should be there another 4 years. All right. D. Demercado says a solid 5. All right. What else we have here? 1 might even be too high. Shanae at 76 says 0. Was this Queens 1, 2, 3 again says can't even reach upon the scale, so nothing registering. Graham Jervis says 0 out of 5. Karen McKinson says 1. Tracy Ann McLean says 0. It's Rico says 0. 1.5 says Terrence J. Susan Hay says 0. Kevin Smith 1. Choose Jamaica 1. GG says 0. Leon Bernard says 2. What else we have here? 2 says AAL. So that's what we have so far on X and Instagram. But now it's time for Facebook. We're going to try over on Facebook. Will we get some of the same? Will we get something different? Only time will tell. Let's take a look. So let's scroll down. Let's find ourselves the post, which is, as a matter of fact, when we asked the folks over on social media on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate the performance of Mark Golding as opposition leader? Romario Good Life Gray says 5, he's better at being opposition leader. So we will give him a 3rd term in opposition. Romario Gray, seemingly a Labourite in our comment section. Who else we have here? Dylan McDowell says, as opposition leader, 5, because he opposes everything good and bad. As a leader in general, 1. Michelle Bernard says 2, reason he never attends anything beneficial and pertaining to the Jamaican people and rarely sends a representative. How can one aspiring to be Prime Minister but doesn't want to mix and match with his people? Wesley Cunningham JP says all we're hearing is time come. Okay. Then call the good work of the government so-called openings. That's Wesley Cunningham JP. All right. So what else do we have here? Averlyn Beckford says, Mark Golding is a law-abiding citizen who obeys the Constitution, who will sign the Code of Conduct, whose statutory declarations have been certified every year and has lived a decent life which citizens of Jamaica can emulate. So with these qualities, he's worthy of a 5. So there we go. That's a 5 for Mark Golding. What else we got here? Nioka Stevenson says 0. Edney Powell says 1. 1 I'm giving him. All know I don't know what plan he has for Jamaica. Every day you get up talking about corruption. Nadia Dockery says -5. Michelle Picton says 0. Isaac Morrison -1. Patricia Grant +1. George Allwood -1. All right, what else we got here? Carlington Bartley says, a man who has nothing positive to say about Jamaica or ever finds time to attend ceremonies of national importance deserves a negative rating, he says. All right. What else you got here? 0, says Cheryl Griffiths. Who could rate a man who went on his political platform with shackles and keys? Daniel Richard says big 0. What else you got here? 4, what's this? O'Neill Dennis says dismal after being on the road for 4 years and speaking about corruption. He's still trailing behind the PM. What else we got here? Christopher Isaac says, sorry, I can't give him a grade because I don't rate him, especially after disrespecting Dr. Michelle Charles. 0, says Rosalind Buck. Worst opposition leader ever. All right, what else we got here? 1, he opposes everything, says Addie Donna. Take the urban center. Yes, 5 out of 5. He does not like the Jamaican progress. All right, what we got here, man? What's this? Is there anything else here I can read? Philip Kidd says 5. He would be a good PM. Tremaine Trems Gordon says 5. Sassy Diva Fab says 5. Patrice Miller says 5. Nadia Dockery says -5. Marcia Lewis says 0. 0 rating if you ask me, says Shirley Brown. Mary Joseph says 0 as well. Fabian Smith says 2. Natalie Winter says 4. O'Neill Johnson says 5. What else we got here? Mark Anthony says 1. So does Simone Unbreakable. Roshane Henry says 5. What else we got here? Negative, says JJ Mack. 0, says Milton Miles. Christine Reed says 0. But what say the YouTubers? I'm seeing a lot of zeros in the YouTube chat. Killian Henry, Ian Coelho, Electro, Neville Gillespie. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of zeros. Faye Wright, Angie Favorable. This is 0.5, says Glenn. What else we got here? 0, says Angela Smith. Yeah, man, what we got here? Non-gradable, says Willow Will. Melanie says 1. All right, man. Grace Price says 0. So it looks like the YouTubers aren't messing. The YouTubers aren't messing around. They have come in full force, and they all seem to be in unison with the zeros tonight. I'm seeing a couple ones. Carol Allen, amidst the ones and the zeros, actually says 5. So there we go. Then you have Benny A saying -5. Sean McKenzie saying 1. What else you got here, man? Yeah, it's Carol Allen, rather. I already saw Carol. All right. Curtis says 0. CJ Martinez, 5 out of 5. Sharon Forbes, 0. Javon Ramden, 0. Coffee Jam 1.5. Michelle Martin 0. Dre's City -1. Yeah, man. There we go. So I guess that's where we end it, folks. That's public opinion. I'm Mahiri Stewart, and now it's time for the business report.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:33. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Mahiri Stewart. PDD Holdings, the Chinese owner of online shopping platform Temu, has reported a near 50% drop in profit as U.S. President Donald Trump's trade policies added to its struggles in its home country. U.S.-listed shares of the e-commerce giant fell by more than 13% on Tuesday after the firm said its profits for the first 3 months of the year fell to $2.5 billion. Earlier this month, the Trump administration ended the so-called de minimis exemption that allowed parcels worth less than $800 entering the U.S. without being hit with import duties. In China, PDD has been locked in a long-running price war with rivals like Alibaba and JD.com in the face of weak consumer spending. And finally, in the currency markets, at the close of trading today, it cost 160 Jamaican dollars and 4 cents to buy $1. It cost 215 Jamaican dollars and 66 cents to buy £1 British pound, and 116 Jamaican dollars and 77 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Good evening.
Suzuki, I give you deals on deals. So here's the deal. Purchase a Suzuki XL7 Jimny 5-door. Bronx or Grand Vitara from as low as $4.89 million. And enjoy huge savings. Savings of up to $500,000 off on select models. Plus 5 years warranty, free vehicle tracking, and 2 years free scheduled servicing. No, that's a deal. Offer valid at Stewart's Automotive Group, Southgate Road, Kingston, and Iron Trauma Bay. Stop by for a test drive. Follow Suzuki Jamaica for more details. Conditions apply.
Suzuki, I give you deals on deals.
Plug into the sun with Peak Energy Solutions. We are your affordable provider for everything solar. Grid tie or off-grid solar P systems, solar air conditioners, panels, lithium batteries, solar supplies, and installation. Visit us at Shop 1, 3 Mosquito Valley Road, Red Hills, St. Andrew. Call 876-279-8820 or 944-0668. Or email us at peakenergysolutionsja@gmail.com. Peak Energy for everything solar.
The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining presents National Minerals Week from May 25 to 30, 2025 under the theme Minerals for National Development. Activities include a church service, bauxite land titling conference, technical conference on limestone, investor forum, and a bauxite industry session. Notably, the technical conference and investor forum will be held on May 28 and 29 respectively at the Jamaica Conference Center. For more details, visit www.moa.gov.jm or follow at MOAFJM on IG.
Tune in to Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as we broadcast from the Ministry of Agriculture's Investment Forum, Thursday, May 29th, 2025, at the Jamaica Conference Center. The Investment Forum is one of the many events during National Minerals Week 2025. The Investment Forum, with keynote speaker Honorable Floyd Green, focuses on investment incentives and sustainability. We will broadcast live from the event, giving listeners island-wide front row access to Jamaica's mineral future. Don't miss us as we unearth the possibilities. So tune in to Cliff Hughes Online, Thursday, May 29th. It's the Ministry of Agriculture's Investment Forum at the Jamaica Conference Center. Catch the live stream on our YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live too. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining.
Taboo topics,
riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between.
Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m.
Boyatings After Dark.
No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored.
Boyatings After Dark.
Tune in to Nationwide at 5 from 6 to 8 p.m. on Thursday, May 29, as we highlight the University of the West Indies, Mona's UWI Star. UWI Star is a short-term advancement and resource center specializing in short and professional courses. Learn more and build a better future at the University of the West Indies. Unlock your potential and expand your horizons with the UWI Mona's UWI Star. It offers dynamic short courses designed for flexibility, focused on your future. Whether you're upskilling for promotion, exploring a new industry, or sharpening your job-ready skills, our cutting-edge programs are your gateway to growth. Learn anytime, anywhere with courses built to fit your lifestyle and career goals. So tune in to Nationwide at 5, Thursday, May 29 from 6 to 8 p.m. Bridge the gap between education and real-world demands with the UWI Mona's UWI Star. Catch the live stream on our YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live 2. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the University of the West Indies. Visit www.mona.uwi.edu/short course and take your first step towards a brighter, smarter future today.
Good evening, listeners and viewers. It is 6:40 and time for the nation's business. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And my name is Sanjay Lewis. Opposition spokesman on transport, Michael Phillips, is calling for a national transport plan to address what he sees as a sector beset by crisis. Phillips made the call during his contribution to the sectoral debate in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. He says the Jamaica Urban Transit Company was created through the careful consideration and planning of a PNP administration that put people first.
However, Mr. Phillips says under the current administration, the service has degraded significantly, but continues to accumulate significant debt. And he joins us now. Good evening, Mr. Phillips. How are you?
Good evening, Siobhan. Good evening, Sanjay. Good evening to your listeners.
Evening.
Good evening again.
Thank you as always.
I was able to catch your presentation, and the substantial portion was about the degradation of service as you see it at the JUTC. You gave some startling numbers in terms of the decline in fare box, the decline in ridership, but yet the continued climbing of the debt at the JUTC, as well as the cost to the government's purse in terms of subvention. So could you just give our listeners a quick overview of your concerns as it relates to the Jamaica Urban Transit Center and the transit company, and the transport system in the country as on a whole?
All right. So, as you mentioned in your introduction, that the JUTC was created in 1998, a great sacrifice to the taxpayers themselves, because the franchise holders, they had to be paid out from using resources from the state to pay them out. I mean, there was a lot of legal fees paid to create a first-class transport system. Coming back from what we used to refer to as the patty pan back then, the robot system to give the traveling public and just in the KMTR a system that was becoming of a first-class transport system. Now, when you look at the comparisons that I gave in my presentation of where we were back in 2016 to where we are now, we have seen that there has been a reverse. And we can only say that the government's policy for the past 8 years was not to replenish the fleet of the JUTC for whatever reason or not. By doing that, what we had was a fleet that was had aged buses between the age of 10 to 15 years old, which was costing more to service for parts, the engines were no longer as efficient, and what you found is that 20% of the buses that rolled out in the morning had to come back as defective. So you're seeing a 2016 fare box of 4.5 billion compared to 2024 of 1.5 billion. The rollout was 2016 about 450 buses. Last year was about 203 buses. So you see the backward momentum of the JUTC over the years, while taxpayers kept forking out more and more to finance the JUTC, with half the fleet. Hence why my question has always been, what is the national plan for transport? And when you look at the amount of hackney carriage and route taxes, in 2016 you had nationally close to about 25,000 island-wide. Now we have about 130,000 licensed public passenger operators island-wide now. So, there has to be a national plan, hence my asking for it, of how it is that we are going to, one, integrate, and two, to have a system that works for both the operators and the commuters.
We want to dial back from where you started, because isn't it a fact, Michael Phillips, that the financial losses and the declining bus availability began under the previous PNP administration as well, long before 2016. So how do you respond to critics who say both political parties have failed to make the JUTC sustainable?
All right. So let me say that we don't expect that the JUTC is going to make a profit, right? And in my own presentation, the recovery in 2016 was 70%, meaning that the recurring cost, the operational cost of the JUTC, 70% of that came from the earnings of the JUTC, right? And the balance would have come from central government. In 2016, it was 12%. So the important thing is getting the JUTC up to the point where it's taking care of at least 60 to 70% of its own recurrent expenditures. To have 12% is not sustainable, and having it that way without even paying attention, just adding buses to the fleet, is not fixing the overall challenges that the JUTC. I have to give them credit. Yes, they have stemmed the loss of fuel, but 60% of your fleet now are buses that are run by clean energy, which is not going to be stolen. That is another issue in itself, as I mentioned in my presentation. But saying that the decline started, but we brought it back to a point in 2016, and what we have seen, and this is not really just a pointing who said who did not, who did what, and who did not do what. It is about the survival of the JUTC as it is today.
But fundamentally,
just a follow-up, Siobhan, because I want to follow up on that point about the recovering at least 60% of its fare box, right? Because globally, very few public transit systems recover even half of their operating costs through fares. Yeah, because we know that it's a public service that is being offered. And I'm trying to do the research. How many countries we have or cities we have where you see them recovering at least 60% of the cost to operate that public transit company?
Most public transit companies, not below 50%. Most public transit companies across the world, if they're going to be running less than 50%, then it is going to be. And look, we have been able to do it. That doesn't mean that we should seek for less when the possibility is there for us to do it. Right now, you have half the fleet with a driver complement for 400 buses, a staff for 400 buses. Right? You're spending the same amount on fuel as if you had 400 buses. You're spending the same amount on parts as if you had a fleet of 400 buses. I keep saying that if this was an entity, any other entity, it would have folded a long time ago. And what we as a responsible opposition and any responsible government would try to reduce those losses, because outside of the $11 billion subvention, you're making a $13 billion loss, operational loss at the JUTC. So the responsible thing to do is how it is that you reduce the loss at the JUTC. And as I will repeat it again, we do not expect it. It has never made a profit. We don't expect it to make a profit. Right? But we expect that we can reduce the losses of the JUTC by making it more efficient.
But I put it to you, Mr. Phillips, though, that all that you brought up makes sense in terms of the need to have a more efficient transport system, especially at the JUTC. But the concern still is raised that while you point out the flaws brought today in terms of where the system is, it didn't start in 2016. There's always been issues of the staffing, the pilferage, and the theft at the JUTC, which much of that is now being addressed by the current administration. So when people raise the concern, they ask, okay, why did we not address these things before 2016?
Siobhan, I'll repeat it again. We had a cost recovery of 70% in 2016. And that should be commended. Yes, there have always been challenges at the JUTC from day one. But that does not stop us from making it more efficient. I'm not trying to blame that you did this and you did that. Right now, we have a JLP administration in power. And what we're saying is, what I have been saying is that they have not spent the time in dealing with. I have, on many occasions, asked the former Minister of Finance, Nigel Clark, when he was Minister of Finance, to do an audit of the JUTC to see how best for us to make it more efficient.
But
Right?
they have done stuff, though, Michael Phillips.
I am not saying that they have not done. Look,
Hold on. Let's look at some of the things that the JUTC indicated that they have done. One, they've introduced the smart fare system in March of 2025. Right, getting rid of the old ticketing machines and reducing revenue leakage. We see the fleet modernization happening with alternative fuel. We see the expansion of the bus services to underserved areas. We see the procurement of new buses. We've seen operational reforms to address revenue leakage. We've seen some classification on the route operations. Don't you give some credit for those things that we're seeing happening?
All right, I'll give credit where credit is due. So we added 100 buses to the fleet. We had to retire more than 120 buses. So we have not really increased the fleet at all. Hence why this financial year, there's no expectation for the revenues to increase. The smart card system has been a promise for the last 8 years, right? A system was introduced before. It has gone defunct, and we have been hearing about it through the other 3 ministers of transport. Okay, we will give credit that they have now put a system in place. They expanding the fleet into other, as you mentioned, underserved areas. Well, many of the JUTC fleets routes are still underserved. Okay,
Yes.
we have added we have 127 CNG buses in the fleet. I commend because we encourage it, but the current plant to fuel CNG buses can only manage 150. You have 70 new CNG buses on sea that will get here next month, with no capacity for fueling those buses. Yeah? You have CNG buses out in Spanish Town. You have CNG buses in Rockfort. Those CNG buses have to leave Rockfort and Spanish Town to come and get fuel at Rockfort. Those are the issues that I have been talking about. Where I'm seeing that there is going to be a $400 million increase in tolls. Up to now, the minister has not explained why is there going to be a $400 million increase in tolls when you still don't have 250 buses on the road. Yeah? There's going to be a $1.8 billion increase in staff. For what? When you still have half the fleet. That even when these 200 buses, this 100 bus that is expected in June, you're still not going to be pushing your fleet by an additional 100 because you still have buses that needs to be retired. So the point I've been making from day one is that because we have neglected the JUTC for 8 years, and I commend the minister, I do, and I've said it on numerous occasions, at least the minister has convinced his administration to buy some buses that have been needed, which should have started, even if they did 50 a year, we probably would not be in this situation. The fact is that taxpayers have to find $10 billion this year for less than quarter the fare box and half the fleet that is required by the JUTC.
And I would like to go back to the staffing issue at the JUTC because I pulled it up. $6 billion is the staff cost for projections for 2026, up from 4.3 in 2024 and 4 billion in 2023-2024. That represents what? The lion's share of the JUTC's costs every year.
But why $1.8 billion? What is the reason for the 1.8? When I asked the question in Standing Finance, neither the Permanent Secretary nor the Minister could answer. What is causing a $1.8 billion increase in staff costs at the JUTC? Or what would cause a $414 million increase in toll charges at the JUTC for this financial year? That is what is budgeted.
But my question
you
is,
still have half the required fleet. You don't see something wrong with that?
And that is my question. Do you believe there needs to be a reorganization or a potential staff cut at the JUTC?
All it needs to be, the first thing is that the government has to decide what are their plans for the JUTC. That's the first thing they have to do. It is not about just saying we're buying buses and adding to the fleet and we're going to do a rural service when Kingston is still underserved. Yeah? I commend that a rural bus system is needed. Yes, but you're still not serving the 25,000 seats that's required in the KMTR that the JUTC has a license for. We are underserving the KMTR, which you have an exclusive license for. And you have started a rural system, which you don't even have the infrastructure for as yet. The JUTC bus that is running out to Morant Bay parks at the police station when it goes out there on its last run. Is that build out a public transport system? And I'm just saying is that we need to just take a step back, do some proper planning, do the costing for it, and get back to what the core function of what the JUTC was for a first-class transport system.
But there is an operational plan attached to the public bodies for the JUTC, which suggests that the intention is to increase ridership from 27.84 million persons, from 18.88 million to 27.8 million persons, a daily run out of 294 buses compared to the 203. So they have listed a plan and they've outlined what they intend to do as part of that plan. Are you suggesting that this plan is not workable?
I am saying that this plan is not workable. In the 2023-24, the public bodies, they were going to move from 15,000 to 24,000 also, and they're still at 18,000. Yeah. Mm-hmm. As I said, you still have half of the current fleet that needs to be retired. Half of the current fleet now of the 230, 250 buses that they are running needs to be retired. So when you get this additional 100 buses, you are still have not added to the existing fleet. You may keep 50 and then add the 100. Right, 70 CNG buses and 30 diesel buses are to come in June. Right,
I want to go, Michael. I'm sorry. Finish your point, and then I ask a question. Finish the point.
I'm not saying that nothing has happened. I'm saying that when you have left, just like our road network, if you have left an entity without trying to fix it for that period of time, you are going to have a depreciating asset. So when you are trying to catch up on those years that you have neglected it, you are going to have to spend more money and more heavy lifting to get it back to that point. And the point I've been making is that we have neglected it for 8 years. Hence why we are now playing catch-up. And we are spending more to play the catch-up. which is a disservice to the traveling public, to the sacrifice of both administrations previous that have tried to keep the JUTC running as a going concern, and to the taxpayers who have to be finding more to subsidize the JUTC when we have not built a new school in 9 years, when we have hospitals that need refurbishing and upgrade, and many other things, road networks that need to be upgraded, and many other things.
Michael, I can't agree with you at all that the decline started in 2016 because the records show that it started long before 2016. Yeah?
Well,
but I want to.
No. Hold on. I don't know what mathematics you are, or if you understand this.
No. The facts are there to show, though, Michael. The decline started. The facts don't lie.
Phillips,
facts don't lie at all.
Mr. Phillips, it's just a simple fact of the matter. It may have been in a better position in 2016, but would you say it was in a better position in 2016 compared to 2011 or 2010? So it is a matter that it was a decline, but the decline did not start at a specific cutoff point. It was in a better position when it was brand new, probably in 1998, when you compare it to 2016.
If you want to bring Jesus down, the JUTC compared to 2016 has half the fleet. Half the fleet. The last time that they got buses prior to this purchase last year was 2016 when some buses were ordered by the previous minister. And yes, I said it before, that the JUTC has had its challenges from day one. But if you are telling me, or you want to quantify that what is happening now as because of what happened prior to, they had 9 years to fix it, and they did not fix it.
But what we're correcting, Mr. Phillips, what we're correcting is what you said. The impression that you gave is that this decline of the JUTC began when the JLP took office in 2016, and I'm saying it is not so.
It got worse under this administration.
It's better you say that. That's a different argument you're putting forward than what you started with initially. Well, let me ask you though, and before we go, because I want to hear what the PNP is going to do should you form government to fix the JUTC. But I want to pick your brain, because you spoke proudly about the PNP's role in establishing the JUTC. But was it truly a carefully thought out system when it was centered exclusively in the KMTR region, while taxpayers across the entire country have had to subsidize it for decades? Was there ever a plan under the PNP to ensure that there's national equity in public transportation investment?
Well, that is why it was also extended out to Montego Bay, because there was a plan to go island-wide, starting with Kingston and Montego Bay, right? And working out the kinks of how it is that the operation would, and we would have needed more money to be able to set up depots out in rural areas, and hence why the KMTR included Portmore and Spanish Town. So yes, there was a plan to roll out into the rural areas, right? But that just never came forth. So I have said on numerous occasions, yes, the plan will still be to roll out in rural areas, and Minister and I see eye to eye on that. We're both rural MPs. I've always said that children in urban centers, in Kingston and St. Andrew and Portmore and Spanish Town, get a subsidized fare. But my children in Northwest Manchester or in Manchester overall, they don't get the same, right? And we are spending the amount of money subsidized, that subsidy that goes to the JUTC. So yes, but before we can roll that out, is to get back the JUTC and the KMTR back to a position where the subsidy doesn't have to be that heavy. Otherwise, what we will continue doing is similar to what has happened to the train service. We have had where the train service was commissioned and said we're going to take children, use it as a bus service for school children at subsidized, and then seeing that the cost of the subsidy is something that the JRC could not afford or central government could not afford. Minister Vaz decided to take it back out of service because it was costing $10 million a month. to subsidize the GRC. So my thing is that we have to, there has to be a plan, not just something that it sounds good. Let us just throw it out there, let's try it, and then see if it works. Because at the end of the day, you can't recover what it is that you spend on a service that is not complementing and working for the traveling public nor the taxpayers.
But would you agree though, Mr. Phillips? Because we've spoken about all these plans and all these adjustments and changes, but at the end of the day, all of these things have a cost attached to them and require funding to back them up. And would you then disagree with me then that the reason why the JUTC declined for so long under cross administrations was we did not have the money to bring it back to the standard where it could be of viability until today?
Yeah.
Would you agree with that statement?
No, I don't. I don't agree with it.
But then it goes back. Then why could the slide in terms of the effectiveness, the reliability, and the efficiency of the JUTC could not be addressed under the previous administration if it wasn't a matter of cost?
I am convinced, as I said, there was a plan under the previous administration to buy 100 buses per year for 3 years to replenish the fleet.
And how much of that was realized under the previous administration?
But we ordered the first set of buses, which was the last set of buses.
And how much was part of that set?
The JUTC got. This was when we were now seeing what the Chinese buses, how they could handle our fleet, our road, our network, how it is. So the first 30 buses.
So it wasn't 100, it was 30.
And 100 Volvo buses were to be ordered. And we lost the election. I am confident.
But Michael Phillips, you haven't answered, though, the point that Siobhan put forward, because we understood under the previous administration, there was a lot of belt tightening that had to happen. Yeah? We know that. Isn't that a fact, then, that would have prevented the previous administration, the PNP, and to an extent, the JLP, from procuring those new buses? And as Siobhan indicated, now it is we have more wiggle room that we can utilize funds to purchase the buses, and we're now seeing that investment. Isn't that a fact?
As I said, there was a plan in place to have purchased some buses under the previous administration. I am convinced, if you were willing to listen, that it was a decision of this administration that at least for a number of years they would not have looked at purchasing any buses for the JUTC, which made the matter worse at the JUTC. I mean, any which way you want to try to convince me that the decline, the government today had the opportunity to even buy 20, 30, 50 buses. Right? They waited 8 years before purchasing any buses. Knowing well, seeing it, we have that debate in Parliament every year. Every year we have a debate in Parliament. The numbers are shown. You see it in the public bodies, the decline in the JUTC. Right?
Yeah, I have the document in front of me. Yes, it speaks to the concerns over the efficiency and the rising costs. I agree.
So, I mean,
but my question still is, I mean, it's fine to have a plan on paper, Mr. Phillips, because I think that is something we need to fix in this country. We have too many plans on paper, but at the end of the day, how much of that plan was realized? You say the administration changed, but why was that not realized over the course of the 4 years at the time the People's National Party had control of the government? Why did it happen at the tail end? Okay. And wouldn't it just be fair to say that the money was tight? I'm not using that as to beat you over the head. I'm just saying, is that not a fair assessment?
This administration, and you're finding an excuse for this administration to say that The money was tight, hence why they.
I'm saying your administration. Is that not why you didn't implement this plan to have the 100 buses sooner? Was the money not tight? Was it not?
But of course, we were in the middle of a IMF program, and we did not have the resources at the time to purchase those buses.
But that's my point, Mr. Phillips.
Siobhan, coming closer to the end of the administration, we started the program to purchase some buses. We lost the election, and the new administration decided that they were not going to go through in purchasing any buses. How are you going to blame that now?
That was not my question. I suggested to you, Dr. Phillips, that maybe the problem going on this entire... Sorry, Mr. Phillips. I was simply suggesting that the problem that we have faced as a country is that despite having many grand plans, many ideas, we've simply not had the fiscal ability to fund them. That is all I was putting forward.
And Siobhan, and any company that has found themselves in that position then have to now sit down and plan the way forward.
Not discrediting you there.
I don't believe that enough of that planning or the thought has been put in for the last 8 years of having the JUTC as a going concern. As I said, the decision was made by the administration. You have the same amount of drivers there as you had 450 buses, same amount of staff, spending the same amount on fuel, the same amount on spare parts for 50% of the fleet.
So let me ask you, Michael Phillips.
I told your producer that I couldn't stay for too long because
wait, a quick one. I want to hear from you now. I'm giving you the hot seat. You're in the hot seat. Post September, when the election is constitutionally due, let's say the People's National Party wins, you become the Minister of Transport. How are you going to fix the JUTC?
Well, we have to do a complete audit of the JUTC, looking at its operations, its staffing, the cost of operating, look at the sector itself overall, look at the KMTR, the license that the JUTC has, to see how it is that we integrate the near 8,000 Acme carriage operators within the KMTR, within a overall system itself. And then we move forward from there. I have always said it's always good to say that you have X amount of money to spend and these things. When you get there, you get a better understanding, because I might go there and there's no money there to do all the plans that we would like to do. But what we are sure about is that we will definitely do an audit of the JUTC and see where in the overall plan the JUTC will operate in the KMTR and island-wide.
And I would support an audit of that administration, because I do agree with you on the fact that a burgeoning cost of, $2 billion in terms of your staff cost over a year requires a certain level of investigation.
Yes.
I find that strange myself.
Yes.
I agree with you on that.
And this is not to say that you have to let go staff or anything. The administration might agree that we will put back the 450 buses in a space of time and thing. But there needs to be a rethink and a relook at the overall public transport system in the KMTR and island-wide. You have to deal with parking, you have to deal with just efficiency and costs where the JUTC is concerned. So it's just, what model do we come with in the broader scheme of things in a public transport system to satisfy the 1 million Jamaicans who are still dependent on public transport?
Michael Phillips, he is the opposition spokesman for transport and mining. Thank you so much for your time, Michael. As usual, I appreciate you taking the opportunity and time to come here.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good, bye.
Thank you as always, Michael. All the best.
We have Watchman next, listeners. But, I have to say, Sanjay, for all you want to criticize Mr. Phillips about, he takes the opportunity to come here and face tough questions from us, regardless of his concerns or the gripes made about the People's National Party and the Nationwide News. I applaud him for coming here and explaining his position and his points.
Yep, and sticking to his point also.
Are you too busy during the work week to capitalize on the NWC's amnesty package? Don't worry. All commercial offices will be opened on Saturday, May 24 and Saturday, May 31. Visit nwcjamaica.com for further details. That's Saturday, May 24 and Saturday, May 31. The NWC commercial offices will be opened for your convenience. Don't miss this final opportunity. The NWC serving you in so many ways.
For over 30 years, Chris and Charles has been financing your goals, dreams, creating your great moments. Celebrate the occasion with us. Borrow $1 million, pay less than $25,000 monthly, and get 30% off your processing fees. No guarantor needed. Call 876-920-4189 or WhatsApp 876-838-9028. Conditions apply. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
The Watchman, exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional, Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening. We are family. If I were asked, what is that single thing that if Jamaicans collectively committed to do, it would significantly change the social and economic fortunes of the nation? My answer would be for us to live the national motto. Forget for a moment about religious dogma, which is essential. Forget about investment in education, which is vital. Forget about economic policy, which is necessary. Forget about need for social reconstruction, which is urgent. My answer to the question would be for Jamaicans to start living that simple yet profound dictum: out of many, one people. The national motto, which is recited reflexively without deep understanding, is saying, although our foreparents may have come from Africa, China, India, Europe, Syria, or Lebanon, in Jamaica, we are part of one family, the Jamaican family. In race relations, the great United States of America has another philosophy: separate but equal. In the case of Plessy versus Ferguson in 1890, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that racially separate facilities, institutions, and even neighborhoods were not unconstitutional or discriminatory as long as the principle of equality was maintained. In 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court in the landmark Brown versus Board of Education case ruled that racially segregated schools are by their nature inherently unequal. The 1964 United States Civil Rights Act outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, and national origin. But despite the legislative advances, the ingrained concept and even culture of separate but equal and the discrimination it breeds remains a feature of everyday life. We are blessed that the forefathers of the modern Jamaican state had a different way of looking at nationhood. Instead of emphasizing the separateness of the fingers, they chose instead to emphasize the importance of the hand with all fingers working in unison. Yet, we have found every reason to divide ourselves one against the other. Black man, brown man, China man, rich man, poor man, big man, little man, uptown, downtown, shantytown, PNP and JLP. Even the church, the country's biggest membership institution, is divided along denominational lines and internal conflicts, oblivious to the scripture that declares a house that is divided against itself shall not stand. Matthew chapter 12, verse 25. Family is built on shared values. Without shared values, there can be no relationships. Without relationships, there is no fellowship. And without fellowship, there can be no unity. Since self-rule, and especially since independence, internecine feuds have dominated almost every aspect of national life, robbing us of the capacity to solve problems such as crime and violence. It is time to not just say it, but to live it. We are family, and we are each our brother's keeper. Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
The National Stadium is the place to be on Saturday, June 7, when a glittering cast of global stars execute their pet events at the 7th staging of the Racers Grand Prix. The stunning lineups include Olympic silver medalist Kishane Thompson, Rashid Broadbell, Oblique Seville, national junior record holder Buwaji and Krumi, schoolboy sensation Gary Card, Zarnell Hughes, Christopher Taylor, national champion DeAndre Watkins, the fast rising Zandrian Barnes, and Trey Cunningham. Check out the women's side where some titanic names are listed, including world champion Sharika Jackson, Shashali Forbes, Natasha Morrison, Favor Ofili, Karika Hill, Sade Williams, and Stacey Ann Williams. Admission finish line $5,000, regular grandstand $3,000, bleachers free until May 31. After that, it's only $1,000. Get your tickets online now at racersgrandprix.com and the Jamaica Pegasus from June 2 to 6. The action promises to be nothing less than sensational.
Okay, listeners, we're going to take a short break now, and then after that, your calls. The numbers are 630-937-124 and 618-8255. Come chat with us.
The loan frenzy is on with Infinity Co-op Credit Unions. Fund your possibilities loan promotion with zero to low processing fees, up to 240 months to repay, and competitive interest rates. You can borrow using a secured or unsecured loan to fund your dreams. Dream it, fund it, live it with Infinity, where possibilities are endless. Visit infinitycuja.com or call 876-926-6973 for more details. Conditions apply.
Tune in to Nationwide at 5 from 6 to 8 p.m. on Thursday, May 29, as we highlight the University of the West Indies, Mona's UWI Star. UWI Star is a short-term advancement and resource center specializing in short and professional courses. Learn more and build a better future at the University of the West Indies. Unlock your potential and expand your horizons with the UWI Mona's UWI Star. It offers dynamic short courses designed for flexibility, focused on your future. Whether you're upskilling for promotion, exploring a new industry, or sharpening your job-ready skills, or cutting-edge programs are your gateway to growth. Learn anytime, anywhere with courses built to fit your lifestyle and career goals. So tune in to Nationwide at 5, Thursday, May 29 from 6 to 8 p.m. Bridge the gap between education and real-world demands with the UWI Mona's UWI Star. Catch the live stream on our YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live 2. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the University of the West Indies. Visit www.mona.uwi.edu/short course and take your first step towards a brighter, smarter future today.
Football fans, It's the clash to determine Europe's king. When Inter Milan battles PSG in the final of the UEFA Champions League, live on the big screen at Carib 5. Join us on Saturday, May 31 at 2 p.m. for the ultimate match day experience. Brought to you by the Amber Group, Nationwide News Network, and Palace Amusement.
Dumfries, first time!
Big goals, big screens, and big vibes. Tickets are $500 for general admission and $800 for box seats. Limited tickets available, so grab yours today at the Carib 5 box office or online at palaceamusements.com. Feel the thrill of the Champions League final, just like you're in the stadium.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to it's the third and final hour, and we're taking your calls. The numbers are 630-937-124 and 618-8255. And just before we go to the first caller, I brought up something that I found interesting in relation to those 30 Golden Dragon buses that Michael Phillips was talking about. And according to this story from The Observer, those 35 buses were a suggestion put forward by then opposition spokesperson on transport, Mike Henry. And I have the story here saying at the ceremony where the buses were commissioned at Lyndhurst Road, the transport minister in 2016, Mike Henry, said they were welcomed. However, he wrapped the management of the bus company up to May of this year for having failed to acquire new buses after the 230 that were left on order by the JLP administration in 2012, and compounding the situation as what he described as a dismal failure. However, he said the idea for their acquisition had been raised from his first time as transport minister, and the People's National Party in government had carried through with the idea, which allowed for the recent acquisition of the new buses under a new Jamaica Labour Party administration. So
the problem continued from one administration to the next.
Exactly. And even further, I have to point out that those Golden Dragon buses were not without fault, because according to the JUTC, the 35 Golden Dragon buses which the Jamaica Urban Transit Company procured for $500 million in 2016 from China have been all but destroyed by overloading coupled with the rigors of the hilly rural St. Andrew routes they service. And that was in 2021. So at the end of the day, where you want to say that the decline in the JUTC started, it did not start in 2016, since it was quite clear that we've been complaining about this problem as far back as 2012. So it's how we address it, and at the end of the day, it is a matter of cost. I believe sometimes it's simply we did not have the funding and the capacity to make good on many of the promises until recently. I mean, in 2016, things had improved.
We know that, Siobhan. Yeah.
Things had improved in 2016, but our IMF program didn't end in 2016. It continued into the next administration, and we still had our challenges in terms of bringing debt down and bringing our fiscal affairs in order. So it stands to reason that those many problems existed then.
And it's something that Dr. Phillips spoke about when he was finance minister, and also Nigel Clark when he was also finance minister, speaking about, how they're creating more room, that more things can be procured. He spoke about it. And remember, he was chastised for paying off the debt or increasing the payment to the debt so quickly. And he said it needs to be done to create more fiscal space to give you the things like the buses, the hospitals, etc. It's not a magic one that you're going to just, twirl and buses will come. There's a process. And it couldn't happen at that time because we just did not have that fiscal space.
And I think we just need to address the reality. We keep saying, why are these things happening now and why they didn't happen then? Because simply we didn't have the money. I think if we just accept that reality and just begin discussing how do we now use that largesse that we have currently to better improve and where we put the priorities, I think that is what we should focus on. But not this notion that, why is it happening now versus why it didn't happen then? Because we were poor and didn't have the money. It's so simple.
I remember in the 90s, Siobhan, and some of our listeners can attest to it. that anything that we needed to buy, we had to borrow to buy it. We have seen that change now, where we're actually living within our means, purchasing what we can purchase with the cash that we have. We're not borrowing again to buy everything that we need. And I'm sure people can attest to that, which happened in the 90s, where we had to be doing that to get anything at all that we needed in this country.
I think it needs the debate that we have around these matters needs to be more mature in terms of not looking back as to why this didn't happen and why that didn't happen and why this decline happened and why the decline happened, because there's a lot of blame to go around. We need to mature the conversation to say, what is the best use of priorities in terms of fiscal spending now to better the lives of Jamaican people? And I think there's enough room and debate where both political parties can put and present their ideas forward as to how we move forward. But I have to leave that there, listeners. I understand we have Ulrich Swaby on the line. He is reporting from Central Kingston, where he has a bit of news for us. Good evening, Ulrich.
Good evening. Like I said, I'm reporting from Central Kingston, North Avenue to be exact, right in front of the constituency office of Steve McGregor, the candidate the PNP candidate for Central Kingston. Well, I must say that there is a relatively decent crowd at the venue, waiting to hear the various speakers speak. So far, I have seen Senator Morrison, Dennis Johnson, Councillor Dennis Johnson, as well as Member of Parliament, Paulwell, that's Philip
Paulwell.
Right. And Anthony Hilton, they're on the podium, and they're also waiting on the comrade leader, Mr. Mark Golding. But I must say, our time here has been well received here. We had little incident. The persons here, they have been, to put it the Jamaican way, they didn't even pay us bad mind. Well, that was up until there was a little skirmish among the comrades. A gentleman and a group of ladies got into an altercation, and when we tried to film that, and there were some persons who objected to it, especially one gentleman, Mr. D. Lynch. Well, I don't know if that's his name. He was wearing a shirt with that embroidered on it, D. Lynch. He had some objection, and because of that, a group of ladies, they also objected and were a bit aggressive. But that quickly dissipated, and things went back to normal. And like I said, everything has been going smoothly. No major worries. The incident earlier today where there was a group of Labour Party supporters, as it was said, I spoke with Mr. McGregor earlier, and he told us that it was just a small pocket of supporters that came out just to show their support for the Jamaica Labour Party, and he would have spoken with the Member of Parliament, and he was told that it was just some exuberant supporters, and it wasn't something that was planned or the Member of Parliament supported. However, like I said, things are continuing. They're still waiting on the comrade leader, Mark Golding, as well as a number of persons are there to speak. We heard earlier from Senator Morrison. He was the first speaker up. And we expect to hear from Philip Paulwell as well as Dennis Johnson and, of course, Steve McGregor.
Okay, thank you for that update, Ulrich, and please try to keep safe. If anything gets out of hand there, keep yourself and the other LNN personnel down there safe. Okay. Carl, good evening.
Sanjay. Evening, Sanjay.
Evening, Carl. How you doing?
Giving thanks, man. Giving thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I heard you said something like we are Sanjay. And maybe you forgot, so I'm going to remind you right away. Even one of the time, this Red Stripe beer company did have to pay the police force. You can go and check that.
Interesting. I'll have to check that. That sounds like an interesting anecdote.
Yes. Anyhow, I hear Mr. Hassan Now, Mr. Azan said something, I think.
You mean Omar Azan?
Yes, he said something with one of the person, Ralston Hyman. When I know how a country govern, only can he have a lot of numbers in his head, but he doesn't understand numbers. And when him got there, so with Mr. Azan said Jamaica economy is into the worst condition he ever see for 30 years. I'll put it to Mr. Azan that that was a dishonest statement. A very dishonest statement, Mr. Azan.
I would say it's a very objective statement.
Yes,
that would be more of my argument.
Yes, Mr. Azan know better than that.
I mean, in the context, though, Carl.
Hold on there, son. For a person like Mr. Azan, they used to say that when in the 90s, for the 22 years plus 9 years would make it to 31 years. I think my math is very good. And if Mr. Azan is talking say, for 31, for 30 years, that means to say he must check the 22 plus the 9 years. And if Mr. Azan didn't fear Mr. Azan, down to police, the job, 2 police station up in Manchester. Couldn't build a police station, Mr. Azan. I think what is hurting Mr. Azan now, Mr. Azan have to use a lot of security for his business because he have to go, they go put out business. The government is not goggling up in billions them and he can jump on an aeroplane and go relax and collect him interest rate. Mr. Azan, you have to go find something to do with your money. The government is not interested in your money for high interest rate.
I hear you, Carl.
Interested. Hold on the little Sanjay answer, Sean. You see, when people, we should know better, try to mislead the people them that is below, it is a dangerous thing. Very dangerous. I heard Sanjay also said, and you too, I would even bother to discuss Nickel Phillips foolishness that he came with this evening, that piece of garbage inside the parliament. Because him know better. Him titter, pay over $1 billion to NTCS out of the taxpayer of Jamaica for breaching Ezra Millwood contract. So when him come attack, I don't know if you did remember. You remember right where the Portmore bus them start to go park right now. They go down to the fire station. You used to have some big old jolly bus to run right there. So and school people have to turn up outside to go to Portmore. Mm-hmm. Can you remember who was in office at that time? P.J. Patterson. So when Nickel come with him garbage now, attack. If we can buy some bus now, Nickel, but your party couldn't buy one. And that's why the JUTC run down. And when Julian Robinson and your white man Nickel attack, so if you dash away 40 billion.
Carl, why couldn't you just say Mr. Phillips and just leave it at that?
If we did dash away the 40 billion a year ago, then Dawes would not complain now over a jail where we could have buy cash for 31 million because we wouldn't have the money. If you follow what I'm trying to say.
I hear you, Carl. I hear you.
And the last thing never left with you. You have some sense and Sanjay have some sense. All right, I'm going to use it properly then. When Golden went to Moran Bay Sunday evening and called the urban center, that name that he give to it, where is all of these people where said them are human rights and all kind of this? He said to him, no, Golden, I need to have a meeting with you. You went over your boundary. Where is all of those people? Where if I did somebody, if I need jail feel like when I want me to talk about man figure catch back in banana boat, everybody jump up Sunday evening. Darrell Val said down in my constituency on a Rocky when me was there. And everybody, you know, and as I talk about that, I heard, you know, always I say, in Jamaica for justice, only responsible for when a police kill somebody. The whole thing dip in a Darrell Vaz and what? Darrell Vaz asked to play now. Hello?
All right, Carl.
Yeah, we hear you. All right, Carl.
That's a question to be answered. How then dip in that now? That is the question. How then dip in that?
All right, Carl, you finished? Oh, it looks like Carl gone. All right, Richie, good evening.
Yes, Marsh, Siobhan, good evening, Mr.
How are you doing?
Good. I listened to that interview with Mr. Phillips a while ago. And the thing that he said, Darvaz said he explained all these things to him already, and he described him as disingenuous. But I'm going to add my little 2 cents to it. He talked about the IMF, and I'm going to remind him that his father who went to the IMF, it was his job to do it. Because when man defecate in a man yard, you know, and the man who defecate in a man yard supposed to clean up, you know, his father was a part of the problem with destroy this economy. And that's why he had us to go back to it. And I'm going to remind him that when this government take office, this government had us to pay 70 cents out of every dollar per budget. And they bring it down to a little nothing. And that's why they couldn't have money to buy JUTC cash. So, Mr. Phillips, you know why you come and complain of politics and go like that, nobody's a fool. Anyway, move on. The Blue Dot poll. We, as Labourites, can take comfort in the 10% lead with Andrew Holness ahead of Mark Gordon. That's a very wide gap. The problem is, it's not a problem. Andrew have enough time to go on the street. No. Mark Gordon cannot tell, Mark Gordon, the PMP cannot tell nobody the simplest little plan that they have for the country. And they have to tell them. So this election will not be a close one as people believe. It will be another wipe up, because unless he can come, unless he can come to tell the people some plan that they have for the country, then we have a chance of winning some seats. But if not, it can't come with it. And he have to come with it, and it can't come with it. So we need to take comfort that the PMP is we are back, and the JLP is way ahead, and the JLP is going to win the election.
My recommendation to you, Carl, to you, Richie, as a Labourite, my recommendation to you is to not take comfort in the polls.
I was about to say that.
Because things can change between now and when the Prime Minister calls the election. So don't sit on a laurel and expect that it means that you're going to win when it comes election
day. And the poll is not showing a wipeout, Richie. It's not.
No.
So don't take comfort in it.
Listen to me.
You have to go out there and do the work.
Anjo have enough time to go on the street. No. And what the main thing that he needs to be doing, as he's doing already, hammer the Mark Gordon and the PMP. Ask him to come with some plan to tell the people what they are going to do to election. And unless he can do that, then stand no chance.
But you heard what Kevin said, though, Richie, that they're not going to be voting for the People's National Party. No, they might just out of sheer fatigue be voting against the Jamaica Labour Party. So that is something that needs to be addressed. And do you feel that has been sufficiently addressed?
That's his opinion, you know.
Of course, it is his opinion. I'm asking if you feel that is sufficiently addressed.
I have mine as well. You see?
So you think enough has been done, and that your party can secure the third term? You're confident?
It will.
All right.
We haven't doubt on it. And it will not be a close election as well. Yes, sir?
All right, Richie.
All right, Richie. We'll see.
Jeffrey, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. I heard the discussion between you and Mr. Phillips.
Yes.
And Mr. Phillips was criticizing all aspects of the JUTC. In fact, I heard you trying to tell him about the good, some things that the JLP, that the minister and the government had implemented. And he never want to acknowledge them in saying we give credit where credit due. But
he did. To an extent, he acknowledged them dealing with the matter of fuel theft and the pilferage of the fare box. He did, to an extent.
But the real issue that I want to bring up now, if I see you with a car, all right, and I find so much criticism about the car, that I can make a statement against the car, against the way how you was running the car. And the question that you asked him was, they make me now wanted to call you, because after you asked him that if the PNP was to win the election and what they would do when he become minister, he said he's going to do an audit. Now, what is he criticizing the government about? If he does not have the facts or have enough information so as to be doing those criticisms.
I mean, there's a certain blind spot when it comes to not being in governance. You don't see the full picture, which is why I hope we, at some point this week, can bring back Minister Vaz, because I do believe there are some questions to answer in terms of the rising costs at the JUTC versus the decline in service. And particularly that staffing cost, why has it gone up by something like $2 billion? I would really love to have an understanding as to what has increased the staffing cost so substantially. Just a breakdown of that.
I understand. If what I would expect, when you ask him the question, is that those things that I have found out that I have to be criticized, I'm going to correct them and I might not be able to tell you 100%, but at least I would be able to say to you, well, then I will start doing this, start doing that, and start doing that. But he's saying he's going to do an audit. An audit is going to, what he's going to do now, is that he's going to check. And more than likely, doing an audit, we have to go spend some money. He might get to my friend them, to pay them some money to come and tell him where he tell him what I want. So why, what?
No, well, we don't know if you know, but don't put it like that. You are going good until you talk about getting some of his friends. We don't want to suggest that at all.
No, don't say that. Because who normally do audit for the government? Not them friends.
No, that's not normally done by the Auditor General, independent body.
There's a procurement process that is in place that people bid to do certain audits. Or it can be done by the Auditor General as Siobhan
don't matter how much you will end up on the same. The most of the time, those things are done by persons. They would not be getting JLP people to go over do audit for them. And JLP will not get PNP people to do audits for them.
I don't believe that's how that works, though.
Yeah. And it's very rare that you have outsiders who actually do audits and those special audits, because largely it is done through the Auditor General's department.
But the long and short of all of what I'm saying is that he is so critical about all aspects of the JUTC. So I can see why after you get it now, you tell me now, say, the way how you go and correct it is to go check to find out if this is wrong or that is wrong. When you are saying these things are wrong.
Okay. That point I can understand.
That is the main thing that I'm bringing up. That's the main thing that I'm bringing up.
All right, thank you for the call.
Okay, then. Yeah.
All right, all the best.
Errol, good evening.
Sanjay.
How you doing, Errol?
It's me, Errol, Siobhan.
Siobhan.
Yeah. Hear me answer the man. Nickels didn't know to talk about bus problem. Because when them 2011, when them be a government in 2012, Garnet Roper, where the one in the Canada Campbell, they mash up JUTC. Them waste money. Them have it a panic tongue of feed Klansman, man, them and all them man, they couldn't even buy bus. You understand? And since 2016, when this government are coming up power and get that done, try to get the country straight, we now have more money to pay by bus. You understand? Them couldn't find money to do nothing. So me like when you take him on in the San Jose, when you ask him, say, enough for them time, them couldn't buy a bus. And that's a fact. Them couldn't buy no bus. So him never come chat and know him going to tell about. You ask him when if them to be the government. Them can't be no government. So somebody ask them that. He must tell them about auditor for what? Have your plan to tell me what you are going to do. Them now no plan to tell the country that are going to yap them out. Then we go here. But when the Prime Minister step out and now and they start and I could give them talk about them want call election, them soon know they want to call. You hear me say, my brother?
I hear you, Errol.
Them look Google there, some Google them.
All right.
And the first money that we want driving at the thing that they want to come, in the cookie jar they want to come live upon. You have another man a call.
All right, Errol. Thank you for the call. Michael, good evening.
Hi, good evening, sir. How are you this evening?
Doing quite well. How are you, sir?
Good, Michael. How you doing?
We're up in the mountain here and I listen to what I go on.
All right. How the coffee going, Michael?
Well, you know, say, like, so within the farm, you know, the farm look good and thing, you know, but the price, like, the price arrangement, we not get no good price yet, you know.
All right. But
the coffee, when you pick your box of coffee, when it's done process, then get around 8 pounds out of it, you know, and you can get a pound of coffee from them to less than something like $8,000 or $9,000, you know.
All right. Well, I hope that works out. But you have something else to talk about this evening other than the coffee?
No, really. Me just this year, I know, so I mean, you know, me just listen to your man answer well. Me just love how you handle the system, you know, because you see PNP and JLP there on the street again another election, you know. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Election time again.
Yell up the overseer for St. Andrew there, you know, where them call him Fox. Yeah, because I'm the overseer for East Rural St. Andrew, you know, Fox. I would have liked the road from Guava Ridge come straight to Flamseed properly fixed, and then I want it half done, you know, because you're a representative from this one, you know.
All right. Good luck up there in the hills.
He's always defending that road, you know, the Guava Ridge Road.
Sonika, good evening.
Hey, hi, evening. So I forgot to say last night and leave my number. So I just want to say I'm very grateful for the speedy response last night in relation to the transfer of my ability to vote in the constituency in which I now live. The process still flawed, though, I think, because you can get 3 bills in my name with my current address, which would say to the EOJ, ECJ that I live where I live. I've been living here for the past 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, whatever, right? Rather than waiting 6 months down the line.
Right. It's a system that, and I'm thinking about it, Shanika, it can't be foolproof because there are easy ways that people can get around the system. And one of the things that they try to do is, that's why they utilize both political parties having their agents going out there with the electoral office to verify that, yes, we're from the community, and we can verify that Shanika have been living in this community for 6 months or more. That's the idea behind it. To try get rid of individuals saying that they live in the community for more than 6 months when in fact they don't. But there are simple ways of getting around that system.
But I want to tell you that most of us working people don't have time for that foolishness. Why would I go to XYZ community to say I live there for a politician I see? Probably never. But I want to contribute to...
The rules aren't made for the good people in society.
Yeah.
It's not made for them.
And hold on, because you might not do it, but remember, back in the days, you had political parties that they want to sway the vote, so they get people from one constituency to come over to the other, so that they can pack a certain division, so that they can win. That's what normally would happen. So that is why those systems were implemented to prevent that from happening.
Anyway, I just think the process is flawed and upset them and I'm going to get your vote. I'm just registering my dissatisfaction with the process.
So you're transferring the vote to another constituency?
Yes.
So, but you can still vote in the previous, in the other constituency that you're still registered.
I'm not going to country. I haven't lived there for years. And there is no political party that's going to convince me to drive back to a country and come back just to vote. It's not, it is that serious, but I'm not going to do it. I think it would be easier.
I did it a few years ago.
Sorry?
No, I said I did it a few years ago. I was living in Kingston. My vote was still in Westmoreland, and I drove to Westmoreland to go and vote.
Oh, I'm not going to do that. You know how far Westmoreland is? My vote is in Central Westmoreland right now. I'm not going to do that. I'm so
you're in
sorry.
Central? My vote was in Central Westmoreland also.
Right. We're probably a neighbor then. I'm so sorry. I would love to vote in the upcoming election, but it's not going to happen.
Don't say that quite
sorry
yet.
about that.
Don't say that quite yet. You, things might be sorted out by then. But thank you for the call, and I do hope that you get your vote transferred and you have the opportunity to vote in the next election.
It's not until December, my love, so count me out. Anyway, have a great evening.
Don't give up hope.
All right, have a good evening. Well, Fox, good evening. You have 2 minutes before we have to sign off.
Yes, man, Sanjay and Chevron, man. Nice to hear you one more time again, you know?
Yes, Fox.
Yes, go on.
Let me tell you something, my brethren. Me say the poll are mad them this evening, you know, my brethren. Because you are now in the poll, it has said the woman them more likely to vote for the Prime Minister. My brethren, let me tell you, me have some comments, you know, my brethren. And the whole of them are saying, Andrew Wallace in a party, because they like how the man just, you know, and the grass we have on there, draw a lot of attention and attraction to them, you know, my brethren. Big up. Yeah, hear me, sir?
I hear you.
Yeah, man, we're here, Fox.
So you said the Prime Minister is a gentleman of substance, is what you're saying.
Yes, man. Me say the woman, me have some comments to friend them, man, some female, man. And they say, Fox, and what I really like a Prime Minister, I like his face. I mean, I tell you, the man dressed good to cool on my brethren. Yes, man, so I'm a senator, my brethren, man. Let me tell you something, my brethren. Me say me like when I jar in the PNP, them, you know, when they talk some rubbish man, the campaign trail. And after you jar, real them in, brethren, they can't explain themselves, you know.
All right, Fox, I'm sorry, but I'm getting the wrap-up signal. Thank you to all our listeners and viewers, Betsy Powell, Marigold Weber, Lorna Hudson, Maureen McKenzie, Willow Will, Neville Gillespie. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks to our super producer, Dana Davey, our technical operator, Andrew the Glen Boogs Anderson, and my friends and compatriot in the news and production department, led by the very capable Cara Powell. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And my name is Sanjay Lewis, wishing for you a wonderful evening.
Have a good evening.